Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Friday weekly Ask Me Any Stock session. If you guys can see and hear me, just do me a favor. Just type a GM for good morning. Let me just acknowledge all of you. I think some of you are slowly streaming into the room, live room right now. We are live on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Let me just acknowledge all of you for just being early. Let's see who is joining us today. All right. Very good to see you as well. ABC, good morning. Hi, James as well. Good morning. We have Brandon. Yeah, Brandon, I think I see you almost like every Friday, right? Also, thanks for joining us, Brandon. Hopefully, we can cover your stocks today. Hi, JJ Teo as well. Good morning. Hi, Madeline. Good morning. So, welcome, guys. Welcome to the Friday Ask Me Any Stock session. Hi, good morning, Eugenia, Steve, Raymond, Edward. Apologies if I don't call your names out, but we can definitely see your chat messages. All right, we're live on YouTube, so there should be a chat box at the bottom on the right, depending on where you're logged on, right? So good morning, good morning. Okay, very good. So this is working. Let's get started, guys. And this session is our Ask Me Any Stock session. We are looking at the Singapore market today, right? So essentially, what does this session, offers, right? Essentially, we are looking at the stocks that you guys are asking about. We're going to do a quick analysis, maybe on the markets first, the S&P, right? As to what has happened in the markets, could it be more upside? Could it be even more bullish, right? We look at the STI as well because it's the Singapore market, right? Then we'll dive into the next segment, which would be the Singapore stocks that you guys are asking about, right? So that's what we've been doing every single Friday, all right? Of course, at the end, that's where we'll share with you guys 3 bonus top Singapore stocks that you want to put in your watch list for potentially even more upside. So thank you so much for joining us, and let's get started. So just want to share something because later, I have to leave a little bit early, maybe about 11:20, 11:15, because I have a kind of like a company lunch appointment to attend. So not to worry, doesn't mean we'll end there. My team, Bervin and Z, will take over. So I'll do my best. Initially, I thought to skip the session, but I will do my best. I will still add more value to you guys. I'll try to cover for the first 30 to 40 minutes, and then I'll pass on to my team, right? So I need to leave early. So sorry about that, right? But we'll still go on. My team, Bervin and Z, will still add value to you guys and cover your stocks as well after I leave. Cool. All right. Okay. So let's get started, right? So would it be okay, guys? Would it be okay if you help me to like and share, before we get started today? That would definitely help us to reach out to more people. Of course, if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel or maybe even follow our Facebook page as well, going to do that so that when we go live in the future, you will be alerted. And we have actually launched what we call a podcast series, right? I call it the One Good Chat podcast, whereby every single week we publish a YouTube video, all right, on a podcast, whereby we talk about topics to do with trading, investing, all right, personal finance, all right, a bit of psychology as well. And we even have like expert speakers, trainers coming on board to share a bit of their insights as well, right? So do check it out, subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you will not miss not only on this live show, but also the weekly content value add that we publish. Cool. All right. Okay. So thank you so much for liking and share. All right. So let's go ahead to get started. My name is Joey, in case we have never met before. Joey Choy, top tier remisial trader in Philips Securities. And I've been doing this for more than 15 years now. My forte is pretty much in stocks, right? So if you're looking at stocks, all right, any type of stocks, Singapore stocks, US stocks, Apple, DBS, whatever stocks, right? That's pretty much what I do on a daily basis for more than 15 years now, right? 15 years now. And I use what I call the One Good Trend strategy. I'm the founder of the One Good Trend strategy. We have a book about it as well. And pretty much I have a tool, all right, based on this strategy, the 1GT Pro indicator, that allows us to, get more clarity on when to get in, when to get out, all right, when to wait, when to be patient, when to skip, when to not buy, and all that, right? So that's what we're covering today as well. So we don't have time to explain like the whole formula, the whole structure, the whole 7-step checklist today, right? So we have one webinar, right? I think that's like probably the final one, right? So one webinar next Tuesday. It's after National Day, right? After National Day. So next Tuesday, 11 August, right? Going to click on the link in the chat, register for it, and that's where I will break it all down for you even more. So I'll see you guys next Tuesday. It's a 2-hour webinar. The link is in the chat. Register for it, and that's where I think you'll get more value by understanding the whole structure, all right, behind what we're talking about today. Cool. All right. Okay. So that's me, right? That's me. Okay. Now, not just about me here today, but my team is here as well today, joining me every single Ask Me Any Stock session. And today we have Bervin, who is joining us, one of the top brokers as well under me in Philip Securities. All right, assisting our teams, group coaching, one-on-one coaching with our mentees, also assisting with our teams, portfolio manager with an 8-figure portfolio management business as well. All right, and Bervin is a CFA chartered holder, right? Not just strong technically, but also very strong fundamentally. And I do consult him as well on certain fundamentals of certain sectors and stocks as well, right? So maybe Bervin, just share a little bit on yourself before we begin today. Bervin, go ahead.
All right, thanks Joey for the introduction. All right, welcome back everybody. Firstly, for those of you first time here, welcome to our weekly AMAS session. Really happy to see more and more people join us week on week. I mean, I understand this week could be a long weekend. Some of you may have taken leave, just enjoy a little bit, right? All the way extend to Monday. But I think there are some happenings that's going on in the market. Definitely, Singapore banks released their earnings as well. I think majority of you will be thinking about it, and some of you even have it in your portfolio, right? So I think that should be the question in your mind. All right, so every week we will rotate Singapore, US, AMAS. So if you are holding on to any Singapore counters, or you are thinking of entering or thinking of whether you want to exit the counters, you have come to the right place today, especially for the Singapore market. But of course, give us a little bit of context. All right, give us a little bit of context, whether you are thinking to buy, to sell, whether you are thinking of accumulating some prices, some give us your levels, whether you're thinking of exiting at this current level, what's your average price. The more information, the better. All right, so then we can customize our opinion more towards you. All right, so without further ado, I think I'll pass the time back to Joey to introduce our next team member. Joey?
All right, thank you so much, Bervin. All right, so yeah, I think Bervin mentioned a very good point. All right, I mean, if you guys are ready, you can actually type the name of the Singapore. So today is Singapore, right? So type the name of the Singapore stocks in the chat, all right? And I'll be, as I said, I'll be leaving a bit earlier, so maybe I'll cover like 2 Singapore stocks that you guys are asking first, all right? But don't just type the name of the Singapore stock, okay? Give us context. Right? What is context? Context means like not just like one name there, but I also don't know what you want to do with the name, what you want to do with this stock, right? You want to buy or you want to sell, so I don't know, right? So give us a bit of context. If you have bought it previously, good. Then when do you buy it? Is it last week? Is it 10 years ago? What price do you buy it, right? Then we will a bit more personalized, maybe give you the analysis, all right? Or maybe you want to sell, all right? Or maybe you want to buy but don't know when to get in, right? Yeah. These are all contexts. Cool. That's where we will give you a bit more priority, all right? Rather than you just type one name there, then we probably will not choose your comment, your chat. Make sense? All right, Ken? Okay, so let me go to introduce another of my team member, Z, who is joining us today. Z is a chartered market technician, pretty much an expert in charts, patterns, candlestick, price action. All right, and she has been with me for more than 5 to 6 years now, also doing our group coaching sessions, our one-on-one calls with our mentees, assisting our team's portfolio manager as well, right? So, Z, just pass the mic to you to share a little bit of yourself. Z?
All right, thanks Joey for the introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Z, if you have not met. So yeah, basically like what Joey mentioned, for myself, I really like looking at charts, right? And I think that's where a lot of people, I mean, when they are trading, they are investing, they also look at charts. But I think the very common thing that usually people have is overcrowding their charts, right? That is where, Joey's 1GT Pro indicator will be able to come in to assist you, whereby you don't have to overcloud or you don't have to put too many indicators on your chart. Just one indicator, right? You can see the moving averages, you can see the trend, you can have a very quick opinion based on the bullish and bearish signal. So I think that is something that is really helpful, that can help you make a very quick opinion decision, on your trading plan. Right? And I think that is just part of the equation, right? The other equation is also having a checklist in place, something that's repeatable, right? And that is where I think Joey's webinar, right? Next week on Tuesday, that's where you can actually attend the webinar to find out a little bit more, because like we have mentioned many times during the session, we don't have time to dive right into the 7-point checklist, right? So we can only give you the tip of the iceberg. So basically, yeah, I mean, I hope that within the next 2 hours, we do give you more value as well, and to give you a little bit of taste of as to what the 1GT framework is about, right? So without further ado, I'll pass the time back over to Joey, because he have limited time today. And yeah, back to you, Joey.
All right, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get started, right? So this is a quick disclaimer, guys. Whatever that's being shared by me and my team, as usual, our AMAS session is just for educational purposes only, right? So please do your own due diligence, do a bit of homework. We are not asking you to buy or to sell anything. We're not forcing you, right? We are just sharing with you guys our framework, the tools that we're using every day, all right? And then you can decide on your own actions, whether you want to buy, sell, or do nothing, up to you, right? So just a quick disclaimer, as usual, right? Okay, now let's go to get started. I'll take a look at the markets right now. That's what we always try to do, all right, to make sure that you guys have a better understanding, as to what is happening week by week, all right, in terms of the market. So let's take a look very quickly at the S&P 500 index right over here, right? So I think that the US market has been pretty boring, not pretty boring, a little bit weak since like June. We sold off, the technology sector sold off, the AI plays sold off, right? But I think over the past few days, we are starting to see strength coming back in the US market, right? So let me go ahead to just turn on very quickly. So we have this tool right away here. I call it the One Good Trend Pro indicator. So any stock, any market, any asset classes, gold, crypto, whatever, doesn't matter. We put it up, we can turn on the bullish and bearish signals on my One Good Trend strategy in 2 seconds. All right, let me show you what I mean, right? Pump, 1,000, 2,000, pump, turn on, right? You want off it, it's okay now. Pump, disappeared, nothing, blurry, right? But once you on it, you get a quick opinion in seconds. So let's take a look at the S&P 500 index, right? So I'll not go too far, but I mean, we've been talking about it, right? We got bearish signals in March. The Middle East crisis started, US and Iran war started, right? And then we sold off, we got bearish signals. It starts going down. But the reversal came in very strongly, all right, somewhere in April. We got the first one, the 1GT bullish signal. The second one came out a week later, and the reversal happened all the way up. There were some talks ongoing, and there were some positive developments between US and Iran, all right? And then after that, a little bit of a stalemate because, it escalated, and there were some inflationary fears, oil prices went up, talk about potential rate hikes, right? And the market started to cool off a little bit, right? And over the past 2 months, I would say a bit boring, right? We actually got a 1GT bearish signal on the US market, right? And that's where you can see that when we got a bearish signal, it doesn't mean it's going to crash or go all the way down, no lah, right? It just means that some selling have came back lah, all right? We have turned into what we call a bit of a consolidation phase, right? You never just up all the way to 9,000, 10,000, no lah, all right? We started to see a bit of consolidation when the 1GT bearish signal appeared. And look at the green line, right? The green line that was like going up since April, up, start to flatten out, right? Flat, right? Which means a sideways consolidation in the short term, right? So short term, it was sideways, right? Long term, no problem, right? Look at the red and blue line. The long term trend is up since last year, then no issue, it is still up, right? But the short term trend, a bit boring, right? A bit sideways for the past 2 months. Why? Because of all these tensions between US and Iran. Then Trump, fired some missiles, Iran attacked back, and 3 weeks ago, there were some missiles fired into oil tankers traveling through the Straits of Hormuz, right? But over the past few days, it seems like there's some talks right, between Iran and even Oman as well, in terms of a potential opening of the Straits of Hormuz, all right? Even Trump came out that the war will be potentially over soon. I think, he's facing a lot of pressure to end the war because, in terms of all these missiles, the long range missiles that's being fired, right, into Iran, it's the ammunition is running low. The stockpiles of missile is running low, right? Even he also have to admit that, right? He mentioned that there's other powerful weapons and, but in terms of the certain missiles type is running low as well, right? So he's facing increasing pressure to end the war, right? It's about 5 months. He thought that it would be less than a month, but now it's 5 months already, right? So in terms of his the voting, all right, of the presidency, and then he's facing mounting pressure to end it soon, all right? Because I think he knows that it's hurting his presidency and all that, right? And yeah, so once there are talks about a reopening of the Straits of Hormuz, that's where I think the market got a little bit stronger. You can see that finally, over the past 2 days, 3 days in fact, right, we have got a brand new 1GT bullish signal, all right? We have been kept below this 7,600 resistance, I would say, for 2 to 3 months, right? So it was quite boring. So every time we go up, The S&P come back down, go up, come back down, go up, come back down, all right? Up, come back down. But 3 days ago, it never come back down. Right? By right, you should come back down, man, because every time you go there, you come back down, right? I mean, there's a lot of selling over that, right? But I mentioned over the past few AMAS session as well that if we can finally break that 7,600, it would be out of this sideways consolidation phase. There could potentially be a bit more upside. Buyers are slowly coming back, all right? And true enough, we are starting to see strength coming back in the technology sector in the US, right? NVIDIA, some of the tech names as well, right? Amazon and stuff, right? So strength is slowly coming back. I mean, the funds was rotating out of the technology sector since June and July, right? But now slowly coming back. And the fact that the market, the S&P 500 index, has broken this 7,600. I think it's a good sign. It's a good sign, all right, that we could see more strength if we can now stay above this level. So look at this right over here. I think 7,600 would be a new support level for the market, right? A resistance. This is red in color. You can see I turn it to green color. Why? Because that would now be a support. And over the past 3 days, after breaking above it, thankfully, we are still above. Make sense? All right. And I want to bring your attention to this. Now, you can see that, of course, now it's 7,006. But I talked about it previously that, in October last year, all the way to April, right? It was not 7,006 then. I mean, that time was 7,000. It's a psychological resistance, right? We were actually trading below 7,000 for 5 to 6 months, and now only like 2-3 months, right? Previously was 5 to 6 months, right? And when we got above 7,000, right over here, that was like in April, when we got above 7,000, right? As I say, of course, we covered it then as well in our AMES sessions, right? I mentioned that, it's something important because for past 5-6 months, we are below 7,000. Plus 7,000 is a psychological level, right? And you go above it, right? But you don't go up, then come back down, then of course, not counted, right? You go up, you stay above it, you see some bullish candlestick above it, and what happens? There we go. It's a new phase, right? I'm not saying that it will surely like that happen now, but can you guys see that? Once a very key resistance has been broken, we get a bullish signals before that, right? The short-term trend turn up. That is where buyers could be prepared to take the market to another higher phase, all right? And that's exactly what we are seeing right now. I mean, it's only 3 days, but I think next week, after National Day, if we stay above the 7,006, maybe even breaking 7,800, that is where we could potentially start to see the market gaining more momentum, right? So that is the US market, the S&P 500 index. All right, Ken? Okay, let's take a look at the STI since we're looking at the Singapore market today, right? So of course, we will have to look at the Straits Times Index, the STI right over here. So 5,675, right? So, I mean, STI actually has been very strong. I mean, as I say, for the past 2 months when S&P 500 index was kept below that 7,006. STI is not kept. STI keep on going higher, right? All right. Why? Because I think you know that the banks, right? I think some of you even asking about it, right? The DBS, OCBC, UOB has been pushing higher, all right? And the banks alone, these 3 banks alone account for about 50% weightage of the entire STI index. So if the 3 banks are to push higher and higher, all right, I mean, pushing to record highs and stuff, more often than not, the STI will follow through. I think it's very seldom that all the 3 banks go up, then the STI go down. Very, very rare. Very rare. All right. So that's the reason why the STI had moved up. All right. We got bullish signals popping out. Not last week, not last month, but in June, it come out. In case you're wondering when, all right, it's quite long already. We got the bullish signals popping out. We talked about it. The green 20 days moving average line was up a little bit and up even more. All right. Now still up, right? So, yep. Long-term trend is up. Long-term trend, look at the red and blue line. They don't need to say that. I think you don't know up since when already, right? So long-term trend has been up since last year. Very easy to see, right? The short-term trend, the green line, has been up since April and May. Right? So very strong rally. I would say that the market is still very strong in terms of the Singapore market, right? The banks are leading the way. Of course, we have other stocks, other sectors as well. I think some of you guys may be asking about them, right? But not all stocks are strong, right? Some are weak, some are going sideways, some may be even going down as well, right? But There are some which are definitely leading a pack, pushing higher. Might be a bit more expensive, but there could still be more strength. And that's exactly what we will cover today, right? In fact, at the end of today's session, as I say, right, that's where we will share with you guys 3 bonus stocks. I will not be around, so my team will share on my behalf. I already told them the stock already. They know about it, and that's where they will share on my behalf. All right, right at the end. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. All right, Ken. So this the STI, I think looks good, lah. Looks good, right? Probably a bit of support coming out near that 5,600. You can see, right, went down a little bit. Buyers came back, and we have rebounded over the past 1 week. Still hovering quite nicely above that 5,600, maybe to that 5,700. So I think STI is pretty much in a very strong uptrend, taking a breather, resting for a while, which I think is good. All right, we want to see it rest for a while, before going higher, and that's what we see, right? You can see that as it breaks the resistance, we start to consolidate. Look at this, right? We start to consolidate. That was in like June, right? So not even stocks, right? Even for the market, we like to see what we call a very healthy uptrend, right? Whereby you break a resistance, you get a bullish signal. Great, right? But doesn't mean you get a bullish signal means you anyhow buy and then you will confirm go up all the way, right? No, right? We get a bullish signal. It might push up a little bit. It might just rest or consolidate at a higher level, right? Right over here. Up, down. And finally rested enough already, sleep enough already, right? Get enough strength already, right? Then you break the resistance, then all right? Then you start resting again, all right? Up, down, and then pump. And now resting again, right? So each time you are resting at a higher level. Does it make sense, right? It's like climbing a mountain, right? Climbing a mountain, right? You cannot be one shot, just climb, like within like 1 hour, climb Mount Everest. Cannot be, right? You need to like rest a bit, climb up for 3 hours, then you take like 1 day break, then climb another 3 hours, right? Something like that, right? So that's what the market is doing. And I think it's healthy. Rather than you one shot run all the way up, I think you will sure check out, right? Sure, then tired on, right? Does it make sense, right? So that is what the market is doing. I think it is a very healthy, sustainable uptrend. We are taking a breather. The bullish signals is still in play for the STI. I think the banks are leading the way, all right? And they're still looking pretty good. So that is the markets, right? We have covered the S&P 500 index and even the STI. Now, very simple, guys. Let's go on to the very next segment. So I'll just cover 2 stocks. As I say, guys, sorry, I need to leave early at about 11:20 a.m. I have a lunch appointment. It's a company lunch that I need to attend, all right? And so I need to leave a bit early, but not to worry. After that, after I leave, my team will still continue to cover your Singapore stocks. But I thought since I'll be leaving early I cover more first, all right? So go ahead to type in the name of your Singapore stocks in the chat, right? And I'll pick the very first one, all right? And maybe I'll cover 1 more or 2 more, right? I'll see whether I got time or not, right? So then I'll pass on to my team, okay? Ken? So let's take a look. Let me just pick the very first stock for today, right? So as I say, guys, when you're typing in the name of the Singapore stocks, right? Give us a bit of context, right? Team, just place the banner in the chat, right? So give us a bit of context. Give us a bit of context when you type the name of the Singapore stocks. Let us know, like, what price do you get in? Are you looking to buy? Even if you're looking to buy, right? Let us know, like, is this price a good entry? So a bit of context, not just I want to buy, right? But yeah, I know you want to buy, but give us a bit of context, like, why do you want to buy? Maybe a bit of a trend. If you could share a bit, that will be a bit more effort. Then we will definitely give you priority, lah. Okay, Ken? Okay, so let me pick the very first stock for today, okay? Let's see, all right? Maybe I'll pick the first one. Okay, let's take a look at this. Suresh, all right? Suresh. Hi, Joey and team. Bought First Resources, EB5 at $3.60 a month back. Is it a good time to accumulate or is there any risk? First Resources, right? First Resources, FIRST. First Resources. Thanks for giving us a bit of context, all right, Suresh, very good. So you bought it and then, I don't know what price is it now. Let's find out, okay? So whether is it good to buy some more, to get out, right? Maybe it's time to take some profit also, right? Let's find out, right? Okay, very good. So thanks for giving us a bit of context. So you got in at about 360, about a month back. Let's take a look. So you can see that for First Resources, guys. I mean, I've already turned on the 1GT Pro indicator, right? Right over here, you can see that we have a couple of bullish signals coming. I mean, I can turn it off, it disappears. So any stocks, any asset classes, we can turn it on in 2 seconds, it comes out. It guides us on what to do, right? If we see a red color like this one, right, red color bearish signal, then we dare to buy or not? I mean, we don't dare lah. I also don't dare to buy lah. I mean, it's a bit not so good lah, right? So then we be patient. Does it make sense? Well, if you see a green color one, okay, then at least you want to buy also, you feel a bit more confident lah. Does it make sense? Well, right? So this is a tool that we have. Right? As I say, guys, we don't have time to explain the whole strategy, but based on doesn't mean we have a signal, means we just should buy. All right. We actually have a signal. There's just one step of the checklist. We have a 7-step checklist, right? If we get 4 out of 7, there is a very good potential high conviction trade setup. Then we think about buying. All right, Ken. So the link is right in the chat, guys. If you want to find out a bit more about the entire 7-step checklist, the strategy, the one good trend framework. All right, the link is right in the chat. We have a webinar next Tuesday. Just a shout out in case, I think the link is probably hidden somewhere already, right? So thank you so much for placing the link in the chat again, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the first resources, right? Suraj, you mentioned that you got in at $3.60. Okay, good. So maybe about last month, had to push above, a bit of a pullback, now rebounded, right? Not too bad. I mean, at least it has, now it's 369, so definitely still making a bit of money, all right? Very good, making a bit of money. But you can see that we actually got a bullish signal popping out in June. So when it came out, it was like $3.10. I mean, that would be a bit cheaper. All right, that'll be a bit cheaper, but nothing wrong. I mean, you can see, right? Previously also, wow, we got some bullish signals popping out, all the way out. So it's a bit cheaper if you've got in when we got a bullish signal. Plus, of course, we got the short-term trend turning up. The red and blue line give us an idea of the long-term trend. It was turning up already, right? So no issue, right? Everything's good. It started to play out, right? Of course, doesn't mean you go up forever and just keep on going up. No, right? Sometimes you go up, rest a bit, up, rest a bit, up, pull back a bit, now go back up again, maybe start to slowly push higher, right? So let's find out as to what you could potentially do right now, right? Okay, so my take is that for first resources, right? We are potentially maybe seeing some good support, all right, around that $3.40. You can see, right, a bit of resistance here. We went up. I think the market weakened. We sold back down to where the 340 is. Push away from the 340. And if you take a look at the green 20 days moving average line, right, you can see that this green line has been up since June. Up, flat a bit, up, now still up, right? So 340 will be a very good support level, right? I'm not saying that you go to 340, but that was where we have rebounded from. I think as long as we stay above the 340 to 350, it still looks pretty bullish, right? But over the past few days, right, it seems like this 360, it's only like 2 days, it's only like 2 days, but in fact, today, I think the low was around 362, right? And then some bargain hunting came back, then we rebound to like 369. Does it make sense? Well, right? So it's only 2 days, right? But you can see that we are back to this higher support at around $3.60 already. So I think, right, if by today we still stay above 360, and then this is a pretty good bullish candlestick because we got a long lower shadow. Yesterday, quite a bullish green, what we call a Marubozu candlestick pattern, whereby buyers were pretty much in control, right, throughout the day. It definitely is some strength coming back, I would say, above 360, right? So, but it's only 2 days, only takes only 2 days, right? But let's say we got another 2 more days, 3 more days, 1 more week, 2 more weeks, and we stay above 360, then I would say that, this 360 would now be a higher support, no longer 340, now it's 360 already, right? That is where it looks even stronger. We could potentially see this bullish signal continue to play out, right? So what could you do? Right? Very simple. There are 2 things that you could do, right? Is it a good time to accumulate, or is there any risk? Well, you could think about accumulating near 360, all right? As I say, if you see a bit more confirmation that it's holding above 360, you could enter near a support level, and that's actually one of the steps in our checklist to getting near a support level, right? Near a support level, even what we call near a trailing support level. So this is another very powerful tool that we have called the trailing support level, right? It's a very powerful feature of the 1GT Pro indicator, right? So let me just go to turn off maybe the moving averages, all right? As I mentioned, the longer term trend is up, the short term trend is up, all right? Another confirmation that we seek is this, right? The trailing support and resistance. Look at this, right? So you can see that when we got a bullish signal popping out, there is this line below the candlestick, below the price, popping up, right? And as it moves up, this trailing support line followed up, flat, follow. And we're right over here around 330, right? Are we above it? Yes, we are still above it, right? As long as we stay above that kind of like the space that we're given it to be above, right? You can see it's a bit low because we account for the volatility, right? We give it the space to breathe, to hopefully move higher. You move higher, we follow you higher, right? As long as you're above it, it's still good. That is like kind of like a safety net below the price. It's like you're doing rock climbing or what, right? There's a safety net below you. In case you fall down, you will not fall all the way down, right? So it will keep climbing, it will follow you up some more. Does it make sense about, right? So that is another confirmation that it looks pretty good, but obviously still above it, all right? And even a dip near it, like as I mentioned, right, 340, when it dip near it, it will be near the trailing support. It could also be a good entry, right? That will be a bit cheaper. But as I say, I don't know whether it will dip because now seems like 360 will be a higher support already if we can hold above over the next few days, right? So that is a trailing support. That give us another confirmation. So if you want to accumulate on dips, I think it's okay. All right, just have a plan. All right. Usually what we want to do is that we have a stop loss. We have a stop loss kind of like below the trailing support. If it's kind of like a trading kind of position, of course, you want to have proper position sizing, risk management, have a plan, right? But so far, so good. I think anything above 360, it looks okay, all right? And you can potentially maybe even think about taking some profit near that $4. I think $4 will be a psychological resistance level. We were right over here in May, and then we got a bearish signal, and then we sold all the way down, right? So if we were to head to near $4, near $4, all right? How near is near? Near means like, 390 something, 392, 95, 96, 97, 98, near $4. I think that is where some heavy selling can come back again because we're right there and we saw a bearish candle. So if you take some profit near that, so as I said, I don't know how many shares you buy, whether it's like a few $100,000 or maybe $5,000, I don't know, right? But if your position sizing is done correctly, right, good, right? That's where at least you're not overexposed. But let's say you buy a lot, like it's a very huge position, then you want to be careful. Definitely, we always encourage, especially for huge positions, huge trading kind of positions, to lock in some profits near a resistance, because that's where sellers could come back. We could see a retracement back down. So that's what you could do, right? As it nears $4, we could think about taking some profits, getting out, getting back some cash, maybe a bit of a pullback. You could enter again, right? But we never say take all, we say take some, right? Why take some? Why not take all? Well, because it still looks okay. Just that, as I say, $4 is a very key resistance level, right? Because if the $4 were to give way, right? The $4 were to give way, like let's say we maybe go below $4 for like 1 week, 2 weeks, and then we break the $4, we go to 402, 405, 406. A different story, that is where there would be another leg of upside, right? The momentum can continue even further, all right, to $4.50 to $5. I don't know, right? But it'll be even stronger. We would even trigger a second 1 GT bullish signal, all right? And that I think would be even stronger. You'll be even stronger. Like over here, you can see, right? The first one came out, rest up a bit. Second one came out, you see for yourself. Right now only got one, right? But if the second one come out, then will it be faster? I think so, I mean, definitely, I think it will be much faster than it never come out, Make sense, all right? So that is for first resources. All right. Okay. I hope that helps, Suresh. Let me go to pick the next stock. So I still have some time. I need to leave at about 11:20. I set a timer already. Okay. So maybe I'll cover like 2 more stocks. Okay. 2 more stocks. Okay. Let's see what is the next stocks before I pass on to my team to continue and run the show. Right. Let's see. Okay. We have Vinpo. Hope you're still over here. Sheng. Good morning. Thank you so much. OV8 Sheng at 301. Sheng. I think all of you know Sheng lah, Sheng. Okay, this is Sheng, right? So you can see that I've already turned on my 1 GT Pro indicator. We turn on the signal. Let's turn it on, save time lah. Okay, done. Okay, so let me read the question first. Vinpo, what are you asking, right? Thinking of going in again. So you bought bought Sheng at 301. Wow, not bad, 301. So I think maybe you buy in like April or May, right? Thanks for giving us a bit of context. Right over here, right? It was above that $3 support. You go in 301, 302, 303. Doesn't matter. Very good already, right? Awesome. Now it's 326. Okay, good. So you should make money, right? Thinking of going in again at 320. Wow, right? For run up, but price seems to be weak. It's a trend changing. Very good, all right? So you got in at 301. And I want to affirm you for that because most people who have got in at 301, all right, they will say, I mean, you have got in at 301, so now it's 326, correct? Which is more expensive, right? So most people, I would say that you got in at 301, now it's 326. Your mindset will be to sell, right? Because you already make money, right? You wouldn't think about buying because your mindset will be, oh, okay, when to sell, right? When to take my money, when to take my profit. That's what most people think. Very few people would say, hey, when to get in again. Then, because why? Because when you get in again, then it's a bit more expensive. Then like a bit, don't sound right? I go in 301 now, I buy a bit more expensive, like look a bit stupid, right? Does it make sense? All right. So that's what most people will not think about doing. But I want to affirm you for that because that's a very good mindset to have. So even though you got in 301 and it's cheaper, right? And now it's gone a bit more expensive, you might feel a bit uncomfortable. But the trend still looks good. The bullish, yeah, in fact, we got like 1, 2, 3 bullish signals still in play. All right. It is good that you're actually thinking about averaging up, right? Buying more, buying further into strength to ride the uptrend even more. So I want to affirm you for that, right? Okay, let's go back to your question, right? The trend seems to weak. Is the trend changing? Maybe what are the price levels you could think about getting in? So I would say that right now for Sheng, this was one of the stocks that we have covered since last year, right? In fact, we have shared with our clients in Philip Securities many times since last year, all right? Those of you who are clients of mine in Philip Securities, I believe you should be receiving our daily updates by WhatsApp, ideas, videos, and like a chart, a little description, right? Sheng is definitely one of them. In fact, let me know, guys. How many of you are clients of mine in Philip Securities? Type the C for client, guys. If you are a client of mine in Philip Securities, that means you actually have a free trading account under me in Philip Securities. I just want to acknowledge and thank all of you for just being here, supporting me in the broking business as well. All right. I hope my team is servicing you well. We are giving you value, ideas. Let me know how many of you are clients of mine in Philip Securities. Let's see. Wow, quite a lot of clients, right? We have Cynthia as well, client Elise, client Chan, Jane, a lot of clients joining us. Thank you so much for just being here, all right, joining us on our live session. And also, we hope that we have been adding value to you on our daily ideas, WhatsApp. All right, thank you so much, Catherine, Tai Hai, Jane, Ellen, Cynthia, Lee. So you know who you are, all right? I cannot call your names out, but you know who you are. Thank you so much for the support. And I just want to do a shout out. You can see, guys, we have a lot of clients joining us on our Friday weekly AMBS session. But I know we do have like the public as well, people like scrolling through YouTube or maybe looking at some Facebook, friend picture, then suddenly you jump into this thing, right? You have no idea who I am, all right? But in case, but maybe you like some Singapore stocks, so that's why you're still over here, right? But in case, wow, thank you so much, Cynthia, great team, awesome, right? In case you're not yet a client of mine in Philip Securities, like many of our clients over here, right, who is joining us, you want to find out a bit more, right? How to become a client of mine in Philip Securities okay, what do you mean by client? Okay, I mean basically nothing complicated. Like this means that you have a free trading account under me in Philip Securities where me and my team are brokers in Philip Securities. That's it, right? I mean basically when you need to buy a stock, you need a trading account, right? So I don't know where you're trading, but you definitely need a trading account. I know how you buy it, right? So the question is that if your own broker, like not much service kind, you don't even know who is the person. It's like a hotline or it's just an app you own self open an account online, log into the app, or and nobody send you anything, no real person like you can WhatsApp or talk to, nobody send you ideas, videos, training, and then you want to join many of our clients over here to have a free trading account so that you can have some service at least. Make sense? All right, and just to be clear, guys, you do not pay anything more. All right, it's not all our clients will not even be here, joining us. All right, you do not pay anything more. It's the same as whatever you pay when you are trading. Makes sense, all right? So the link is right in chat. Just place the link in chat. Find out a bit more, all right, so that you get some of those ideas much faster by WhatsApp on a daily basis, all right? And that's just where we can add more value to you. You get more service at least. And a lot of clients who come to us, they always say like, no service, there are other brokers like nobody call them, they don't even know who their broker is. It's like a hotline or what, right? If that's you, guys, that should not be the way, right? Find out, can become a client. The link is right in the chat. We look forward to work with you a bit closer, and you can get some of our top ideas even faster by WhatsApp daily for free, no additional cost. Make sense, all right? I hope that explains, that just clarify some of the misconception that I think people have. People thought, must pay something or what? Don't need, same now. You just need a free trading account, free. Okay, okay. Let's move on. Okay, now Sheng, sorry, so this is Sheng right over here. Let's see. What is Sheng Vin asking, right? is the trend changing? So very good, you're looking to get in again. So as I said, right, for Siong, we have been sending out a few notes since last year. We got bullish signal as well since March, April, May. We have sent out a few notes as well. It's gone even higher from $2.60 to $2.80 to $3, now to $3.25. So my take is this, right? I think that it is looking bullish still overall, right? We have seen a break of this very key resistance level. I would say 320 was a very key resistance level. All right. We were trading from April all the way to June. Finally, we got another bullish signal. We broke above it and we stayed above it, right? So this 320 has turned from what we call a resistance to a new higher support level since June. In fact, since the 18th of June or 16th of June, right over here, right? And doesn't mean, as I say, once you break the resistance, then you will, wow, become $4, $5. No, right? Not every time like that lah. Sometimes you break above it, you consolidate above, you'll rest a while, you start to, push higher, maybe a bit of profit taking again, and we move sideways, right? So right now, the range is from 320, so no longer $3, a bit low already lah. I think that was like in April and May lah, right? So I think that's where you got in. Awesome, right? Binpo, great, you got in around there. It was consolidating, you got in near the support. Awesome. But now you can see that the support is no longer $3. It is a bit higher at about 320, right? 320, right? So I think a potential good entry, because you're looking to get in, right, Binpo, a potential good entry, I mean, especially for the longer term, the long-term trend is up, well, would be near 320. It could be 321, 322, 323, 324. I mean, in fact, like, I think today the low was like 320, then you see rebound it. Now become 325 already, right? I mean, so if you got in at 321, then happy lah, right? But you see rebound a bit already. So 320 is where some bargain hunting can come back. This is like what we have seen over the past one over month, right? So I think that could be a good entry. You can see that the green 20 days moving average line as well, all right? It was like flat when we were consolidating in May and June, started to point up. Now it is a bit flattening out, not really down. Of course, if you see like go down like that, then you want to be careful lah, right? But it's not like that, right? We're still above 320. The green line is kind of like flat, right? So it is still okay, right? However, if we were to break the 320, the green line point down, and we get another red color bearish signal, like over here, you can see previously, that was in February, we got a red color bearish signal, and then I'll ask you to wait lah. Does it make sense, right? But now, don't have right? So still looks okay lah, right? So you must know the reason why you're buying and the reason why you are also not buying, right? So in this case, I would say that the bearish signal haven't come out. It still looks good. We are still above 320. So I think there's still more upside. There's potentially still more upside above this new support level, right? The range is from 320 to $3.40, right? So I think it might just go up and down. You can see how we went up, get back down, up, then down, then went up, then now come back down again. I don't know whether it go up again, then down again, up again, down again, right? But if it breaks 340, then it's another level already. Right, so it seems like it likes to do a 20 cents. I don't know, like seems like it likes to do a 20 cents range each time. Rested here for like about 2 months, 20 cents, and now maybe rest another 2 more months, 20 cents. Then after that, maybe rest another 2 more months, 20 cents. Right? I don't know, right? But seems like it is doing a 20 cents resting each time lah, which is good lah, right? Let it rest a bit first lah, right? And then that's where you could time your entry near what we call a support level to ride a potential rebound, right? So that is Sheng. All right. Okay. 11:15. Okay, I'll just cover one more stock and I need to rush off. All right. Now pass on the mic to my team. All right. And that's where they will go ahead to cover your stocks. Okay. Let's just one more. Okay. Let me take a look. Sorry if I cannot cover all of it. I'll just choose one more. Not to worry. My team will try to cover it. Okay. Let's take a look. What could be a good stock? Okay, I'll just choose the first one. I think the banks, a lot of people are asking about the banks, right? So let's maybe cover one of the banks, right? So let's see. Okay, let's take a look at this, right? Is it advisable, Joel Ng, is it advisable to buy some DBS as it rose to 76 today, right? DBS, wow, Singapore, right? Favorite bank, all right? Let's take a look. Wow. DBS, advisable to buy, looking to buy, right? Let's find out. So, we have been talking about the banks. In fact, every like a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe up to a month, I publish a video on the Singapore banks on my YouTube channel as well. All right. And I think, the banks has been doing really well. All right, we've been talking about the banks. We share with our graduates, even our mentees, that it's definitely good to have banks in your portfolio for the longer term, even for trading. They are the one that is leading the STI, right? They are the one that is, pushing the market higher. And we're seeing, of course, they're the blue chips, they're the big caps, right? But once they start moving, that's where you might see funds rotating out of the big caps to the mid caps and then maybe to the small caps. But we need the big caps to move. We need the leaders to lead, right? To push higher, all right? And that's what we're seeing for the banks, right? They're the one leading, they're the one pushing higher, and that's where other sectors start to follow through as well, right? So the banks has been doing really, really well. I mean, I'll say that DBS, we got bullish signals since March. Of course, we sent out a few notes to our clients in Philip Securities. As I say, guys, those of you who are not yet a client, find out how you can become one so that you can be alerted a bit faster. So you can see bullish signal, We got a bearish signal, went down for 1 week. Another bullish signal appeared in like June. And what happened? Now it is what? 70. Wow. Oh, just now I see like yesterday it was below 75. Now become 76 already, right? Okay. So you can see now we are 76.05. 76.05. Let me just quick to zoom in. All right. Okay. So you can see, guys, we are, in fact, as I'm talking, it is attempting to push higher. Because yesterday when I was looking at it, right, there was this resistance. I would say that 75, all right, was a very key resistance level. Look at this, right? For the past 1 over week, we neared 75 and we came down, right? It was just, sellers were just out near 75, right? Of course, we're like consolidating from like 73 to 75, like up and down. We're like kind of resting, which is fine, all right? But we were below $75. Yesterday, quite a strong move. I think there's some pretty good earnings results they were out, right? DBS Group shares not record high. You see, again, a record high on best ever quarterly profit, blah, blah, blah. All right, the Singapore-based lender second quarter net profit rose 9% compared with the same period a year ago, 3.08 billion Singapore dollars, right? Driven by higher non-interest income. So you can read the news on Business Times. There's a lot of analysts covering it as well. Singapore banks have been focusing on wealth management as they look to diversify their revenue. All right, DBS said it planned to open 18 new wealth hubs by end 2027. All right, and stuff, right? So very strong earnings results. I think that's the reason why it's pushing higher over the past few days. All right. Yesterday, record net profit and income, strong fee growth, blah, blah, blah. All right. So fundamentally strong. All right. Results are strong as well. Technically, I think it is getting a bit stronger as well. All right. Why? Because as I say, right, we were resting for about 1 week plus below 75. Now today, in fact, just now I saw it, haven't yet, but now I think it's quite clear already, right? We have kind of like gone above that 75. So I got a bit shocked. Just now it was like 75 plus, right? Wow. I mean, it was like below 75, right, yesterday. But now we have officially went above that 75. And not even 75, even 76 also like being tested already, right? So I think it's getting a bit more bullish. To be honest, right now, this support would be at about that 75 level, right? If it's only 1 day, I mean, like, but by next week, if we continue to hold above 75, unfortunately, that would be another higher price level. It will be a higher consolidation. No choice. You might have to buy at a higher level. All right. If you say you want to wait until like 72, then buy. Or maybe I want to wait until 68, then buy. You wait lah, but how we know whether we'll go back down to 60 or 70? I think now it's pushing higher already, right? You can wait, you queue at $50 or $60 also lah. That is like May price lah. But the point here is that we buy into strength, right? I don't think, I mean, personally, I feel that it is strong, all right? It's very hard for the price. I mean, I would say that nobody can guarantee and confirm anything. But right now, I think that the support has came out. It's getting higher and higher. If you're waiting for it to drop and then you want to buy because it's cheaper, it might not drop, right? Because right now, as I say, anything above $75, that would be what we call a higher support level, right? And that's where it could be even more bullish, right? And you can see that this bullish signal is still in play. Long-term trend up, the green line. Short-term trend still up lah, right? So there's no issue, right? It looks good. All right, it looks good. So, where is DBS again, right? So, okay, all right. Holding DBS again, continue to hold, get dividend or sell at what price? I think you can continue riding, all right? User, like, so you got in, great, not too sure what price you got in, but you're looking to sell, right? But I think don't need to be too kanchong or what to sell, but I mean, it still looks good, right? Continue riding until it's not so good, then you sell, all right? So if you want to take some profit near $80 psychological resistance, go ahead, take some, not all, right? Because it still looks okay, all right? So that's for DBS. All right, let's see a lot of you, any more of you asking about DBS. I mean, this is a Singapore, very, very popular bank. Joel, as advisable to buy some. Yep, I think anything above 75 you can consider. I honestly don't think that you did much, right? It is starting to push higher as I'm talking, right? In fact, I don't think even near 75. Seems like 76 when it breaks out, there could be more bargain hunt. There could be bargain hunting. There could be more buying momentum coming back as well. All right, okay. So that is DBS, right? And if you could turn on another confirmation, right? So some of you like maybe ask, hey, then when is the price to sell, right? Well, as I say, we have this very powerful feature for DBS right over here, the trailing, not just for DBS, but for any single stock, any single markets, we can turn on the third box, the trailing support and resistance. Right over here, turn it on. Right, okay, let's remove the 3 moving averages because we have, kind of like talk about it already, right? In terms of the trend, the longer term, the short term trend, it's all up, right? So that is settled. Right, we can turn it off, but let's turn on the third box, all right, as another confirmation. There we go, right? You can see that when we got a bullish signal popping out in June, a trailing support popped up. What is a trailing support? A trailing support, as I mentioned, it follows the stock. It could be DBS, it could be Apple, it could be S&P 500, doesn't matter, right? It follows that asset class as it moves up, flat, but it gives it the space to breathe. You don't follow too closely like a stalker. No, right? You give it the space to breathe. You can see got some space one. Got space one, right? Relax. If you're above it, then chill lah. Does it make sense, right? If you can break above 76, let's say you go to 77, 78, I can tell you this trailing support will continue to follow it. All right? If you're above it, continue to chill, continue to relax, right? However, one finding is also going to say, then where should we take some profit? You can take some profit near a resistance level. Nothing wrong. Near 80, 85, I don't know, right? That could be targets that some analysts have kind of like projected, right? That's the upside. That's the easy part, right? That's the taking profit part, easy, right? But if we were to see like a bearish signal, right? Like this red color bearish signal popping out over here. That was like in February, maybe another one popping over here, right? That would be where we want to be a bit more cautious, right? Because it means that we have used up all the space. It has kind of like gone below the trailing support. It could be here, it could be here, all right? I don't know, right? And that's why we're going to be a bit more careful because that's where some selling have appeared, right? So that's how we have these two to guide us to not get out too early also because it looks good, right? Why you want to get out? Then after get out, then you go up some more, you say, yeah, wasted lah, sell already, go up, right? Right, so we don't sell when it looks good, right? We only sell when there's a confirmation that it is a bit weaker. Then you want to take some profit, you want to take some money off the table, put in your pocket, fine. But if not, then continue riding lah. Make sense so far? All right, cancel this for DBS. I think it looks good. If you can break above 76, I think holding above 75 alone is good. But if you can go above 76, I think that's where we could see a bit more strength coming back. I think that's what we are seeing right now. Okay, Ken? So that is DBS. I've covered the very first 3 stocks, guys. First resources, Sheng, and DBS, right? So that's it, guys. Don't worry, it's not ending. It's not ending. So sorry, as I say right at the beginning, I have to leave for a lunch appointment. So I thought just join for a quick one, share 3 stocks. My team will take over. All right, my team will take over. So I'll see you guys in the next AMAS session next Friday. All right. I'll pass on the mic to Bervin to carry on the session, and you'll cover the next Singapore stock, right? Next Singapore stock. Okay, Ken? So thank you so much for listening to me over the past like almost 1 hour. Bervin, go ahead, take over. I'll see you guys next. Bye. Right.
All right.
Don't close
Thanks,
out.
Joey.
Still
Bye.
live,
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Joey.
You guys stay here. Only
right?
Joey leave.
Okay, carry on.
Okay. Bye, Joey. Okay, so let's see what is the next stock that we have. Okay, so let me just go through. Okay, Sean. Hi, good morning, Sean. Entered city development at 8:55. Wait and see. Okay, let me just throw my screen up. Okay, let's see. We have right here city development. All right, city development stock code C09. Okay, so for city development, definitely we started to see weakness way back when prices were not able to, it came close to the $10 level, the $10 resistance level, right, Sean? But I think subsequently we met with a little bit of sellers lah. We met a little bit of sellers that $9 support was broken already. All right, so now this is a resistance level. You got in at 855, right? 855, somewhere around here. All right, so that would be your entry level. So I'm not too sure whether you bought it recently or maybe you bought it sometime in April. All right, so but either way, that was in case you did not know, it looks like it's quite close to what we call like a sell zone, right? A sell zone. So a zone where we tend to see selling pressure pick up once again. People want to take profits at this level. People want to sell at this level. It's like a resistance. It was like a ceiling. Prices not able to break above this ceiling. Need to come back down again. So over the last few months, what have just been happening was prices have been just been trading within like a more or less of a range, right? Between the $7.90 to $8 all the way up to $8.60, coming back down a couple of times, 1, 2, 3, third time, and on the third time, selling pressure actually picked up. Okay, we can see that there's two 1GT bearish signal that had actually showed up, and then prices actually fell below. Fell below that $7.90 level already. Right, so over the last couple of weeks since the end of June, we have been trading under the 790 level, and most recently, I think yesterday and today, we have the 100 days moving average coming very, very close to that 200 days moving average, and not in a good way. All right, not in a good way, and that is a sign typically where the longer term trend is starting to change as well. Not change for the better, change for the worse. Right, selling pressure could continue as long as we see prices kept under that $7.90 level. If you are looking for a nearer term support, I would say that nearer term support is currently at that 740, maybe even upwards to 750 level. That is where we have seen buying come back in, or like some bargain hunting have actually came in at the end of July when prices were trading at this level. So if you want to wait and see, I think you have to recognize that there are definitely some risks, right? The risk is if prices start to trade at that lower range, 750 upwards to 790, 750, 790 again, maybe stuck here for a while. Then it brings about this question of opportunity cost. Is it holding on to this stock for a little bit too long? You could have been investing in something else like DBS, like what Joey have said, or maybe even something like First Resources in the nearer term could have more potential upside, right? Rather than getting stuck. At least you're not thinking of buying more, right? That's a good thing. I don't accumulate down, throw good money after bad, right? So I think right now, want to take note of a couple of key levels: 750, 790, and that 860 level. Right? These are the few key levels that you actually want to look out for. What happens if that 750 is broken? Definitely you will see that 20 days moving average start to slope down even more. Right now it's flattening out a little bit, but if that 750 level is broken, definitely you will see it start to point out, and we could be heading back to that potential next support level way back when in October of $7.30. So there is further downside. Is there upside? Yes, but I think signs are pointing towards weakness at this point. Maybe you want to consider a stop loss plan if we do not see any much recovery going on. We are close to that 790 level. Maybe you want to reduce a little bit of that exposure, want to let go for that counter, shift the capital to something else in the nearer term, at least to make better use of your money, right? Better use of the investment, better use of that capital, to trade something else. But for now, I would say city development, not really something to be rushing in, right? You don't really see much buyers coming in, not really seeing much interest coming in to push prices back up again. Every time we are close to a resistance, selling pressure actually pick up once again. All right, so I think once again, let's see if 750, we once again see buyers coming back in. If we are able to break above that $8.90 level upside towards the 860 could open up for yourself as well. All right, so Sean, hopefully that helps for city development. Don't wait too long to make any move. Right, so now I'll pass the time to Z to cover the next question.
All right, thanks, Bhavin. Okay, so the next stock that I have here would be by Songs. Right, Songs, I hope you're still here. You're asking about Hong Kong land, right? And the stock code is H78. What's your view for Hong Kong land? My average entry price is USD 7.22. Do you think I should continue holding it? Okay, so let's take a look at Hong Kong land together, right? So for myself, right over here for the chart, I mean, I've already turned on all the signals. You guys can see yourself, right? And the first thing that you see, I mean, of course, based on the signals, is that there is a 1GT bullish signal, right? So 1GT bullish signal, when you're thinking about buying, thinking about holding, whenever you see the 1GT bullish signal, green color one, the latest one is actually still playing out. Okay lah, not too bad, right? Not too bad. At least you don't see a red one, and you don't see consecutive red ones. So, okay, right? Still okay. And then the first thing that we always look at, again, is going back to the basics, right? Which is looking at the trend, right? So, when we look at the trend, what do we look at? We look at what we call moving averages, right? Which is the green, red, and the blue, right? So, the green line over here in terms of the short-term trend, right? It is pointing up, right? The green line definitely, if I zoom in bigger for you guys to see, right? It is definitely pointing up. So that means that we are seeing short-term strength in this particular stock, right? In terms of the longer term moving average, the red and the blue line. So the red one is 100 days MA, the blue one is 200 days moving average, right? The red and the blue one, the red one is actually, actually it was pointing up like in April, May, June, it started to show weakness, started to point down, right? And it flattened out a bit, and it's still starting, maybe it's debatable. Some of you guys would say starting to show some signs of pointing down, right? But longer term blue line here, it is still going up. So overall, I would say that it is not that drastic yet, right? Especially so when we see prices in terms of price action finding a new higher support, plus it is supported that the 1GT bullish signal is actually still playing up, right? So when we have established that in terms of the trend based on the moving average, right, then we take a step forward and look at where is the support and the resistance, right? So for Songs, right, you mentioned that you bought at 7.22. Let me see, 7.22. So I would say 7.22, maybe somewhere around here. I'm not too sure. Do you buy here or do you buy here when it break out, right? Because it's a different story. When you buy here, when it's upon the breakout, at some point in time, definitely you are sitting on profits, right? Maybe for a couple of months, right? Never take any action. But when you buy here, it's a different thing, because when you're buying here, you're buying when there is short-term weakness, when we have bearish signal, when 20 days moving average is down. So in terms of the mindset, when we are thinking about buying, right, based on Joey's framework, we only want to think about buying into strength, not buying into weakness, but buying into strength. Okay, so that's one thing to note, right? So sorry. So for Songs, right, I'm not too sure if you are still here. If you are still here, maybe you can let us know, like, in terms of buying, right? I'm not too sure where do you buy. Do you buy when you break out here at the start of 2026 around 7.22, or did you buy here, right? Okay, then the next thing is that in terms of the buying at 7.22, actually nothing wrong lah, right? Because why 7.22, $7 here? You see that it is a support, right? $7 definitely is a very crucial support level. Previously, here was a resistance. Here turned to become a support. But of course, like what I've mentioned, right, when buying here, definitely in terms of the confirmation, you don't have as many confirmation compared to buying here, right? Because at this point in time here, your 20 days moving average is weak. Okay, so now this is where we are at. Price is trading at about 7.93, right? But can we actually spot another new higher support level? For sure, right? And I think that level would be here, right? You can see around it's about $7.80 right over here, right? And over the past, I would say 1 to 2 weeks, right? You can see right here, price has been testing. And in fact, right now, over the past couple of days, right, it has in fact been testing this new higher support at $7.80 level, right? You can see that this level here, 780, right? From February, after it broke out, right? It broke out this $7, went up to this 780 multiple times, right? Over the past months, March, April, May, this 780 has been tested, right? And many times buyers actually came in to support the prices until right here, break down the 780, and then that's where we see price go back to test the $7 again. But right now, this is where we are at. Breaking back above 780, reclaiming the 780 as a new higher support, and testing this 780 as the immediate support level. right? So definitely for songs, you're sitting on profits, right? 7.22, now 7.93. Definitely maybe about 60-70 cents per share, right? On profits. Not too sure how big of a position you bought as well, right? But then your question comes in whereby, hey, because you are seeing some short-term strength, right? You see a 1GD bullish signal, then where should you continue holding it, right? So I think that is where you got to have a plan in place as to, hey, if price reach a certain level, right? Perhaps that's where you could consider to take some partial profits as well. And where would that be, right? That would be right here near the maybe 860 to about 850. These would be one of the zones lah, what we call as resistance zone, right? Because previously you can see in January, March, May, this was where selling pressure returned. Every time prices near that level, right? Selling pressure come back, push price back down. So if prices were to rebound from this 780 back up to this $8.60 right here, is it okay to take some profits? Perfectly fine, right? Based on Joey's 1GD framework, it is always about buying near support zones, selling near resistance. Why? Is because buyers come at support, sellers come in at resistance, right? So nothing wrong, right? If prices were to actually head back up to this 860, I would say that nothing wrong to actually take some profits as well, right? But one thing that I also want to highlight, right? I think if you recall, right? Remember these trailing support and resistance functions that Joey actually showed you guys earlier, right? So I turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, so you can see, right now, is price actually above this trailing support? Yes, it is, right? So this trading support right now is about 760. And remember what Joey actually said earlier about this trading support, right? If prices were to break below a trailing support, after you give it room for it to move and breathe, not so good, right? That's where you can potentially think about being a bit more cautious, right? The keyword that Joey used was being a bit more cautious, right? If you are already sitting in profits by that, and if you see a 1GD bearish signal, prices actually break below, see a 1GD bearish signal come out, is it okay to lock in some profits? I think that is something that you can think about as well, especially your entry price is about 7.22, right? So you can actually take reference from this trailing support, right? To if prices were to move up, right? Do you think that this trailing support will continue to move up? It will, right? It will continue to move up, and that is where you can make use of this trailing support to follow this trailing support as prices continue to move up. Right, so that is one way that you can approach this, right, in terms of Hong Kong land. The other way, like I've mentioned, if prices were to head up to the 860, if you want to take some profits, lock in some profits, perfectly fine as well, right? So that is something, Songs, I hope that's something that you can think about as well. And I saw your comment, right? You said you bought recently right over here. Yeah, I mean, great that it actually rebounded up, right? But of course, key thing is also to think about, the risk management, like the downside, right? Because once you buy into a stock, definitely there will be risk involved, and that's where you want to think about the downside, right? But thankfully, it didn't, when you buy at 722, it never test, then break this $7 lah. It went up, right? It went up, and now we are here, right? So then that is where we got to think about, okay, so where are the potential levels that perhaps I could actually take some profits if prices were to head to that level, or if prices were to break below this 780, right? Or even break below, if I give it a bit more chance, break below the trailing support, then is that where perhaps I might want to consider to actually secure and lock in my profits as well. Okay, Songs, I hope that helps. Something about Hong Kong land, some of the levels, especially write down, take note, maybe put it in your trading view as well. Okay, so that would be for Hong Kong land. I'll pass the time back over to Bervin, right, to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so let's go very quickly on to the next stock that I have here. I think somebody was asking about this. Here we go, Nikki. Hi, good morning, Nikki. Good, still morning, right? Yep. Good morning, Nikki. Yeah, bought CSE Global at $1.30. All right, got out earlier at 173. Great, congratulations, made some profit there. The stock came down to 130 again. Don't really see a gap down now, hovering around 125. Yes, I am thinking of buying back from the 125, 135 level for the next upside. All right, so let's see in the nearer term where could CSE Global potentially hit to. But firstly, good job. I would say great move getting out at 173. Probably saw some weakness right there, and then got out, locking in some profits. It's a good thing because if you don't lock in your profits, it's essentially no use. You come back down all the way again, and then you start back to where you are again. What's the point? So I think it's always better to get out If you see some weakness first, you get out close to a resistance. I think you got out very, very good, very close to the 180 resistance that I've drawn as well. All right, so now you're thinking of getting back in, but is there strength for prices to push higher again? Okay, I hide your comment first. All right, here we have the CSE Global. All right, indeed have fell quite a little bit from the 180 level all the way until 125 today over a period of a couple of months, right? Since the end of May up to the start of August right now. About 2 months or so. Right, prices have fallen quite a little bit back to where you have initially entered. All right, so I think at that point of time when you entered about the 130 level, around the 130 level, you probably saw that, right, that 20 days moving average was pointing up alongside that 100 days, 200 days moving average. All signs of strength, starting to pick up. Indeed, it really picked up. We saw a 1GT bullish signal actually came in. Prices pushed higher, break through a couple of resistors before testing that $1.80 level twice. Not really able to break past it. We saw profit taking happen, right? And then it started to came back down. All right, so right now we look at that 20 days moving average, compare it to from this period, right? This period and right now this period, the moving averages are already significantly different. All right, firstly, that 20 days moving average previously was sloping down, now starting to point back up again. But is it above that 100 days moving average at this point? No, it is not above that 100 days moving average. And indeed, that 100 days moving average have started to move a little bit more sideways. I would say sideways, pointing down, definitely not pointing up at this point. Right, we are seeing a 1GT bearish signal right there. All right, 1GT bearish signal showing up on the 7th of July. We have that 20 days moving average previously already crossing below that 100 days moving average. Yes, we have that 200 days moving average pointing up. Yes, we have that $1.15, 1.15 level still holding up right there. We can actually draw like a buy zone, maybe from 115 to 120, change it to a green color box right here first. Right, so that is what we call a buy zone, where we typically see buyers coming in, consolidating, prices consolidating close to the level, rebounding from that level. Right now, that is where I think currently a lot of those buyers are actually looking to come in. Right, so should you get in alongside them? I think probability wise, we started to see a little bit of a temporary resistance already forming, very close to that $1.30 level in the nearer term at least. Right, so I think Nikki, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe you can consider a plan where if we indeed break above that $1.30 level, right, what is going to happen to that 20 days moving average? Wouldn't you agree, will start to extend upwards a little bit more, potentially even crossing above that 100 days moving average. Right, so it's a little bit more aggressive. It's a more of a breakout trade strategy. Right, so we don't have time to go through all the nitty-gritty final details in all these strategies. But if you want to find out a little bit more about a framework, right, the kind of strategies that we use, Joey use as well, do attend one of those webinars that is happening. All right, next week. Right, the link is in the chat. You can find out a little bit more from there. But coming back to CSE Global, if we are able to see strength pick up, break above that $1.30 level, right? We have tested it twice already. I zoom in a little bit. Tested it twice already, not able to break out. So potentially getting in at 125, you'll maybe be met with the situation where we approach that 130 level again. Then we start to see selling come back in again. Then you're a little bit stuck already by then. Right, so I think be a little bit more patient. Maybe you want to consider a plan where if we break above the 130 and you start to see that 20 days moving average cross above that 100 days moving average, and preferably we see a 1GT bullish signal. All right, so just now Z showed you guys the trailing support. Right now I'm going to look at it that the trailing resistance. So the trailing support actually follows prices as it moves up, but the trailing resistance actually follows prices as it moves downwards. And in times of consolidation like this, where prices are moving in pretty much in a range, tend to see that trailing resistance just move a little bit more sideways. So a break above that trailing resistance is actually an even better sign, where the potential buying momentum, buying interest could pick up once again. you could then potentially see the upside. The nearer term upside, I think a bit narrow to that 140 level first. Then subsequently, if you're able to break above that 140 level, recapture it, the resistance turn back into a support, we would then see the next upside towards the $1.60 level. So I think waiting for a little bit, buying at 124 compared to buying at 130, not much of a difference, 5 cents. But I think that maybe waiting for a little bit longer, see if it actually plays out, could be worth the additional 4-5 cents premium they're actually paying. Right, make sense? All right, so I'll now pass the time to Z to cover the next stock for you guys. Z?
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, I think maybe we can go a bit faster because I think now we are at the 6th stock, right? We are at the 6th stock. Okay, we try our best to cover as many as possible today. Okay, so this is my screen, and the next stock that I will be covering will be PCT Partners by RS, right? Because I think PCT Partners, it was actually also one of the bonus stock that we have shared a couple months back as well during our Ask Me Any Stock session. So RS mentioned that you bought PCT Partners at 219 in May, right? And made some profits. That's good, right? I'm wondering if I should continue to accumulate this stock at its current price. Okay, maybe let me just hide the comment because it's a bit long. Okay, so let's take a look at PCT Partners together. All right, so PCT Partners, you mentioned you bought about 219, right? I think somewhere right over here, right? That's great, right? Definitely sitting on profits. I'm not too sure along the way, did you even manage to take some partial profits and then buy back again, right? Because I think that would be actually great, right? Especially if we see that uptrend is actually still strong. And I think now your question is whether should you continue to actually accumulate this stock as its current price. So current price now is about $2.91, right? 2.91, right? So then when you ask this question, right, the thing is that the first thing that we got to think about would be, I mean, of course, we know that uptrend, when I look at this, uptrend strong, right? Short term up, longer term also pointing up. All three moving averages aligning, heading in the same direction. That's already checked, right? Then the next thing that you would think about would be, hey, if I want to buy, I also don't want to anyhow buy, right? Based on Joey's 1GD framework, we only want to buy when we are at a support zone, right? Why support zone? Is because support zone is typically where buyers actually return. That's the reason why we want to buy at a support zone, not in the middle of nowhere, not at the resistance. When you buy at the resistance, a lot of times what happens is that some people, they buy already, then straight away say, I buy every time the price next day, few days later drop. Why? Is because selling pressure come back, profit taking happen. That is why most of the times when you buy at resistance, right, then you will hear people start saying that, hey, every time I buy, then it drop, right? So we try to look for support zones to potentially look at the entry zones, right, near support, right? So based on this right now, over the course of the past 2 to 3 months, right, from June, July, August to where we are at right now, right, you can see that my support level has actually increased, right? We can see that buyers actually willing to buy at higher levels. So which is where your support levels are, the ones that I draw myself, you see all these lines, right? They are not static, right? They actually can go higher as the price continue to actually play out, right? So you can see that 220, subsequently buyers came in, you see right over here, right? In July, right? Middle of July, profit taking happened near the resistance around 320, push all the way down to about $2.40 here, where buyers actually came in, right? It didn't go all the way back down to about 220. Buyers started to come in near this $2.40 already, right? And then it went higher from there, right? So you can see that in this sense, support level, I would say, has found it has found new higher support level for this particular stock from about 220 to about this $2.40, right? And in terms of resistance, I would say it still remain around this $3 to about this 320 because this is where you can see multiple times, right, whereby selling pressure came in, and again, about 3 days back, right? 3 days back, we started to see this price reach around this $3 psychological level, right? And based on this candlestick, right, you can see that it has a longer upper shadow compared to the bottom, right? And that indicates and tells that the selling pressure is present, it is still there, right? And this is where we are at, right? This is where we are at. So, for RS, right? You mentioned that you bought at 219, so you are thinking of accumulating some positions, right? Accumulate more. That's great, right? That's great. But potentially, where could we be looking at to accumulate? Because right now, if we have established the resistance, we have established the support, and price is at 2.92, right? Then it is a bit not here, not there, right? It's a bit not here, not there, right? So potentially, where are the levels that we can look towards to accumulate some position, right? Number one is, of course, like what I said, looking towards the support zone, right? And you can see that the support right over here, I have drawn around 240, right? Perhaps this is where you could be setting some price alerts as well, right? Maybe 240, 240, 45, 248, 249, 250. These would be the zones and the levels that potentially, if prices were to retrace back to that level, then potentially that's where you can consider to accumulate some positions, right? The next zone, where would that be? That would be what we usually call a breakout, right? A breakout above a resistance, right? And the resistance now we know that is around this $3.20, right? So if prices is able to break and hold above 320, is it good? Definitely, right? Break, not just break, but must break and hold firmly above this 320, turning this 320 into what we call a new higher support. Then that is where accumulation could also happen as well, because that is where people could also think about buying upon a breakout, right? But of course, that being said, then people might ask, like, or maybe RS or other, some of you guys who are holding on to PCT, right? Then like that, after break 320 already, like potentially, what is the level that I could be looking towards, right? We can actually do this thing called like a projection, right? If I were to do a projection here, and I project it up from this 320, can you see that this potential projection up, right, based on the range that it was trading sideways for a bit, right? Especially when 20 days moving average was going sideways, you can see that next upside target that I've drawn based on this projection range would be towards the $4, right? And also $4 is also what we commonly known as a psychological level. So I will also not be surprised, right, if near towards this $4, selling pressure start to return, right? Profit taking happen, prices were to pull back, right? So that could be the potential next upside target if prices is able to break and hold above the 320, right? Provided that the 320 turn to become a firm new support lah. Okay. So, but right now, this is where we are at, right? So in terms of RS, right? RS, I think if you are thinking about accumulating, I think that's a good mindset to have. Want to affirm you for that as well. But we don't want to anyhow buy. We want to buy when we are near support zones, right? And potentially, those are the support zones that we could be looking at. And that is where maybe you might want to think about setting some price alerts near this level, okay? So I hope that helps for those of you guys, to give you guys a refresher about PCT partners, and also especially for Owen, right? In terms of formulating your trading plan, okay? So that would be PCT. I'll pass my time back over to Bervin to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so next stock right here, AK. Hi, IX BioPharma bought at 0.44. I think prices are higher from there already. Okay, what's the plan? Bought at 0.44. I want to know when I should sell. Okay, great question right there. All right, okay. Here we have IX BioPharma on the screen right now. Okay, I think 0.44. Yeah, that is exactly what is quite aggressive trade. You bought probably upon a breakout or something, or you seeing it testing the resistance. All right, it was an aggressive trade. It played out in your favor, right? Great job. We had a more recent 1GT bullish signal that had actually shown up right here on the 28th of July, right? The 20 days moving average definitely pushed further away from the 100 days and the 200 days moving average already. I just want to draw one more support right here, that lower support of 32 cents, about 32 cents right there. Prices currently trading above that 50 cents level. Definitely trading above that 50 cents level. Consolidated a little bit, found a little bit of a support right there. The immediate target, right? The immediate target, I think we could raise it to about 60 cents first. All right, 60 cents first, and you want to know when to sell. I think then there could be a couple of situations here. You could be faced in a situation where prices just move up and down in the range, because very similarly, that is what had happened from April all the way to July as well, right? So about 3 months period. For 3 months period, prices just moving in a range of about 10 to 12 cents. So right now we could also expect a similar move, take a breather, right? Like what Joey has said, take a breather, prices consolidate, move higher, consolidate, move higher. Signs of a healthy uptrend, good. But in the meantime, if you would like to take some profits, I would say nothing wrong to do it. Very close to the 60 cents level, maybe 58 cents, 59 cents. If you are potentially able to collect or lock in some of those profits, that'll be good as well, right? Why? As long as we are able to see that 20 days moving average, that support continue holding up, that psychological 50 cents level continue to hold up, you could even have a potential re-entry close to that 50 cents level for the portion of the trade that you actually got out. Right? So rather than just holding on, go up 60 cents, come down, you can take that opportunity to do a little bit of range trading as well. Right? But I don't think you should sell 100% of your position at that 60 cents level. I think you could even extend it out further to maybe even that 65 cents level first, if that 60 cents level gives way. Right? And a higher target for yourself. A higher target where potentially BioPharma could potentially be heading to. And if you like to continue to just ride it out, don't want to sell anything, don't want to make any big moves, right? All right. What you could do is you could set up a stop limit order underneath that 50 cents level, maybe 48 cents, 47 cents. But then again, by doing that, you are actually, foregoing whatever profits that you may have. I mean, from this point onwards, downwards to that 48 cents level, you're sacrificing about 7 cents of profit. If you do that and your prices fall below that level, then you clear your position, you get out, you lock up whatever profits from 44 cents to 48 cents, still a 4% move, 4-cent move up, still not too bad, right? But you're sacrificing some profits there. So that's not what you want to do, right? So you have been enjoying some profits already. Maybe over the last few days, you're not seeing much movement anymore. Potentially, I would say, having a plan to lock up some profits close to 58 upwards to 60 cents level, that could be the more ideal plan for yourself, right? Because at least as of now, the trend still looks good, right? The trend still looks good. It could be extending out even further. If we turn on that trailing support right there, you can see that trailing support have started to move higher as well. All right, alongside the prices, as prices break higher, they started to push higher as well. So some people could be also using that trailing support. I don't know if you have access to that trailing support or not, the 1GT Pro indicator. But if you have, you can use it as a reference for your stop limit orders as well. So by placing your stop limit orders underneath that trailing support level, maybe a couple of cents below it, maybe 1 or 2 cents below it, good enough. Right, good enough. Continue to ride the uptrend, continue to ride that momentum. We start to see prices move higher, your stop limit orders should also start to shift higher. So there's a couple of ways to go about it. But I would say as of now, that trend still looks good for IX BioPharma. Nothing wrong to lock up some profits, but I think you can continue to have that exposure as well. All right, so I think IX BioPharma is one of those stocks that, if I never recall wrongly, this week the broking team also sent out an update to all the clients. So I'm not too sure if you received an update like that. If you would like to receive an update like that for you guys for IX BioPharma and even other stocks as well, daily WhatsApp ideas, do click on the link in the chat to find out a little bit more on how to be a client of Joey's in Phillip Securities. All right, so I'll pass the time now to Z to actually cover the next stock for you guys. Z?
All right, thanks, Vervin. Okay, I think we are on a roll, right? Quite fast today. Okay, so the next stock that I have over here, that would be by Comfort, right? I hope you are still here. You're asking about HOPA, right? I believe it's HOPA Corporation. You said that you held on for many years, right? Not too sure how many years is many years, but you're thinking of selling now, right? Is it a good time to sell? Okay, so let's take a look at HOPA Corporation together. All right. So HOPA Corporation now, let's see. Maybe let us just interact a little bit. Okay, so we have about 224 of you guys who are still here on Facebook and also on YouTube lah. So maybe you guys can help me and also Comfort out, right? And so that it's not so boring for you guys. Maybe you can type a bit, exercise your fingers also, right? Okay, so let me know, right? Let me know. What do you guys think about the longer term trend, right? For this particular stock, do you think up, down, sideways, longer term? Okay, longer term trend. What do you guys think? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Okay, let's see. Longer term uptrend in terms of the red line and the blue line. What do you guys think? Lina, uptrend. ABC up. Okay, Brandon, slightly up. Okay, fair. The longer term, because now we're talking about longer term. Vincent, up. Okay, can. Song says sideways. Longer term, Song says sideways. Okay, can. Anybody else? What do you guys think about the longer term trend for Corp? Three Kim, up. Okay, I think majority I think I would say slightly more of you say up right? But Song says sideways, right? Or Young also says sideways. Why like this say uptrend sideways? Okay, so there's a mixture of up and side, right? Okay, can let's dive right in, right? And then for short term, the green line, I hope you all can see and will tell me that it is down, the green right? Because it is definitely the green one not pointing up, right? The green one is pointing down. I zoom in big for you guys to see. Okay, so the long one, okay some of you guys might say it's a bit side. I would say I kind of see why you guys say a bit side, because price it has started to flatten out, right? Maybe that is the reason why you are saying that it's a bit side, right? But you can see the longer one, right? The red one, right? It is starting to show some strength of it pointing up, right? So at least both of them are not pointing down. Only the green one, which is short term, is pointing down. Short term is showing some weakness, right? So that is what we have gathered, right, from the moving average, just the moving average alone, right? So sorry, who is asking this again? Comfort, right? So we have a 1GT bullish signal, right? We have a 1GT bullish signal that's still in play, right? A green one, the latest one is a green signal. But we know that short term we are experiencing some weakness. Longer term still okay but it's just that it's not as good as if you were to ask us at the start of the year, right? Look at this, right? February, March, red and the blue pointing up, right? But now not so much of up, but flattening out a little bit, right? So in terms of taking profits, is it okay to take profits? I would say that definitely okay to take profits, especially you tell me that you have held on to it for many years. I would assume that your average cost price is very low, right? And you are definitely sitting on profits, okay? And if you are thinking of, is it a good time to sell? I would say that if you are thinking about selling, based on the framework, we think about selling when prices is near resistance, right? Especially when we know that the longer term trend now based on the longer term moving average, red and the blue line is still not pointing down yet, and it is just flattening out. The red one is actually still pointing up. So then we want to take note of where is the resistance, right? Because then you will want to set some alerts, because if prices were to hit to the resistance, then you want to think about taking some profits. I think that's perfectly fine, right? And that resistance, where would that be? You can see that I've drawn this level here around $17, right? So if prices were to head up to this resistance zone, right, near the $17 psychological level, is it okay to take some profits? I think that's perfectly fine, right? The next resistance, if it breaks the $17, then of course the next one we are looking towards the $18. So those are resistance level that you can consider to set some price alert, to think about taking some profits there as well, right? And in terms of, if let's say we do see more weakness returning, right, I think what is the key thing that maybe Comfort you want to watch out for, right, is definitely, I mean, short-term weakness. Yes, we are seeing short-term weakness, and in terms of the support, we do see some temporary support near this 1550 right? If it does break below this 1550, then if we have a 1GD bearish signal coming out, do you think perhaps it will be good to lock in your profits as well, right? Because when we have a 1GT bearish signal appearing, that would mean that there is more selling pressure returning to the stock, right? It doesn't mean that the stock will crash, but it just means that there is more selling pressure, right? And I think the key thing over here, right, that maybe Comfort you want to think about, right, is that if you start to see your red line cross below the blue line, I think that is where you may really want to consider to actually lock in the full profits for your position. Why would I say that? Is because if we take a look at this particular stock, same stock, let me just zoom out for you guys to see. I mean, over the past year, 2024 onwards, to where we are at now, great, right? Stock is in an uptrend. But if I zoom out far enough, right, take a look at this. From 2021 all the way to 2023, this stock was actually in a downtrend. So we don't want to be caught in situations like that whereby you are actually in profits, right? And then the stock, it can be going up for 2 years, 3 years, but it can also be in a downtrend for multiple years as well. And we don't want that situation to happen, right? That is the reason why we want to take active steps to lock in your profits as well. And the key thing that I've mentioned earlier on is to watch for this thing, right? Maybe let me just turn this off first and show you guys. Watch for this thing, right? The red actually crossed below the blue line, right? And that is where, I mean, if you are still holding on to a position, I'm not too sure what's your position size as well. Like if you're still holding on to a position, then I think that is where you might want to think about, securing your profits rather than, holding all the way and then 2 to 3 years, the stock go down and then it could be back to square one or your profits could have eroded by a lot, right? So that is what we are trying to do here, right? In terms of taking active steps to protect your profits. If prices were to rebound back up to resistance, nothing wrong to take partial profits along the way, right? But once we start to see the longer term trend start to show weakness and it cross below, the red cross below the blue, then that is where you want to be a bit more cautious. Open your eyes a little bit bigger and look at this particular stock, right? Like have alerts being set, right? To tell you that, hey, maybe it's time for you to actually take particular actions or step for this particular stock. Okay, so like I mentioned, in terms of this support, immediate support right now, I would say that the temporary support is around this 1550. If prices were to break below this 1550, I think we may see some profit taking or selling pressure returning back to this very key and crucial support at about this 1450 level. As you can see, it has been holding above it since the last quarter of 2025, right? So I think for Comfort, right? Comfort, as mentioned, take note of the resistance. That's number one. Potentially, that's where you could be looking to take some profits, right? The second thing is in terms of immediate support, right? If immediate support is broken, I think that's where it's okay to also lock in some profits. And the very, very crucial and last thing would be to watch for the longer term moving average, okay? Because you have held on to this for many, many years already. I'm not too sure what's your average cost price and also your position sizing. But make sure, the key takeaway is make sure to take active steps, right? To protect your profits. Not saying that you hold for very long and then just leave it down there, don't care. But we also want to make sure to actually secure the profits. Okay, so that is for Hopper. For Comfort, I hope it helps, and I'll pass my time back over to Bervin, right, to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so let's continue our row. Okay, let's go. We go. KC, does AEM is EAM still good to hold? Okay, great question. Let me just throw it up right there. All right, Casey, AEM right here on the screen right now recently came down from its high of $11. Found a little bit of support or rebound from the $7 level, coming very close. It rebounded from its 100 days moving average. All right, its 100 days moving average, definitely something to be watching out for. All right, it's definitely been watching out for by a lot of those buyers. I think as of right now, I would say $7 would remain as a key support level. But over the last 3 days, prices have been trying very hard. You can see it's been trying very hard to recapture the buy zone of 890 and upwards towards $9, where this is where buyers have actually came back twice in May and also in June, about 1 month apart. All right, so right now we are back to that level once again, and that 20 days moving average have started to flatten out a little bit. It was pointing down. I'll zoom in a little bit there. Was pointing down, and then now it started to flatten out over the last 2 days. All right, so we are able to hold above that 890 level. All right, now it's trading about 889 before market close for lunch. All right, this is slightly delayed right there, but you want to watch out for this level. You want to have alerts. Right? You want to have alerts being set up, maybe closer to that 950 level, and one more alert underneath that 890 level, perhaps about the 850, 860 level. Why? It's because if this level is broken or is not being able to be recaptured again, you may see that downside back towards that psychological $7 horizontal support level. All right, so Casey, I do not know what price there you actually bought it at, but right now, as long as we are able to actually hold above this 890 level, I think it's still good to hold at least for the nearer term for a little bit. Right? Of course, ideally, I would have much rather you sold when that 950 level was broken, that previous support was broken, so and then maybe potentially can re-entry. But never mind, you have been holding it already. So I think right now we try to limit your downside and then maybe see what is that upside, right? So I think the immediate upside I think would be upwards towards that 950 resistance level first. All right, that 950 resistance was previously a support. We had held above it for about a month or so before we actually break below it. All right, so if you're able to capture that 950 level, I think that's a very, very good sign. Why? That 20 moving average will then have started to point back up again. That shorter term trend will then be aligned with the longer term uptrend once more. All right, once more. And right now we have a 1GT bearish signal. But if we are able to break above that 950 level, we will see a 1GT bullish signal come in. And then the upside back towards the $11 level will then be present. Then what happens when we arrive at $11 level? I think by then you may want to already start to consider to reduce a little bit of exposure by taking some profits. Why? A couple of times we had came close to the $11 level, 1, 2, 3, 4 times, but we were not able to break above it. Sellers very, very keen at this point to actually take some profit at the $11 level. So I think maybe you could potentially join them, take some profits there. And then if we start to see any more bullish price actions, right? Bullish price actions close to the $11 level, I think that will be good. That will be a sign that potentially we could break above this resistance level and opening ourselves up to the next phase of that uptrend, maybe even upwards to that $13 level that I've drawn way back when. All right, so right now, for now, I think a few levels to very, very quickly recap. 890, you want to take note, set some alerts underneath. 950 as an immediate resistance for yourself. $11 as a higher target. And of course, we do not want to see prices head back below that $7 level. All right, I think the tech counters have had a good run up. I think if we are looking at AEM, since the start of the year was quite boring, we had when we had a 1GT bullish signal showed up here, all the way up to say this 1GT bearish signal, that is still over 350% of growth already since the start of this year for AEM. Right, so I don't know whether that upward momentum can continue. I mean, based on if you're looking at the US market, a little bit of a sideways consolidation for some of the tech counters, a little bit of downtrend, a little bit of weakness experience in some of the major counters like Sundays, things like that. You may start to see counters start to take direction from there as well. Singapore counters start to take direction from there as well. So we have to pay attention on both sides, take into account all of this, and if you have some profits, always good to lock some of them up, right? To realize some of them. All right, so Casey, hopefully that helps for your AEM position. For now, I think still okay to hold as long as those key levels hold up. Okay, so I'll now pass the time back to Z to cover the next stock for you guys.
All right, thanks, Mervin. Okay, so the next stock that I have here would be by Miffy. Right, hi Miffy, nice to see you here again. You mentioned Pen United, right? I bought Pen United at 1.59. Should I hold or should I sell, right? So let's take a look at Pen United together. Okay, so for Pen United over here, right? You mentioned you bought 1.59. I think now price is trading right at your entry price, right? Right over here. So not too sure when you actually bought this. Yeah, but then let's take a look at it together now, right? So in terms of the trend, right, for Pen United, right, it doesn't seem too worrying, right? In terms of the trend, why is because your long term is generally heading up in sloping upwards, right? Your short term it is also up, right? And prices have recently rebounded from the low of about the $1.30 support zone, right? With a new 1GT bullish signal playing out. Previously, I mean, back in May to June, we started to see selling pressure return, right? When it approaches this 170 resistance, selling pressure came in, subsequently 1GT bearish signal came out, and then price went all the way down. Profit taking actually happened all the way down back to the $1.30. Now prices have rebounded back up, right? And you can clearly tell that based on this, right, based on the price action itself, it is also easy for you to locate some of the support and the resistance, right? So like what I mentioned earlier on, support, definitely we do see some support here at the $1.30. That is a very crucial support level, right? But in terms of immediate support, right? In terms of immediate support, I would say that there could be some immediate support at around this $1.50, right? Because this was where in April to June, prices was actually holding above this period, right? April to June, right? And this 150 was acting as a support zone, right? This 150 was acting as a support, and prices was within this 20 cents range from 150 to about 170. So 170 would be what we call a resistance level, right? So that would be what we call like a resistance zone, right? So now price is at 1.59. 130, is it a valid support? Yes, but it's a bit far, right? But where would the more immediate support be? I would say it would be around this $1.50 right over here, right? So you can see that support around 150, resistance about 170, and right now 1.59 is a bit not here, not there. So I understand why sometimes you might feel that hey, it's time for me to sell, because maybe perhaps you buy at this price, right? And then it's a bit not here, not there, and prices have been going on like this for quite a while, and then you might think that hey, maybe I need to do some action, I need to take some profits, I need to do something about it, right? But overall, looking at this, right, based on what we are seeing on the chart, the uptrend is still okay, right? There's nothing too worrying about the uptrend, especially so when prices, is it still above support? Yes, right? Is the short-term, long-term uptrend all still okay? Also yes, right? So the thing is that for this, you may want to set some price alert near the $1.70, this resistance zone, right? Because if prices were to head back up to this level, I think if you decide to, hey, I no longer want to touch this stock anymore, I want to put my money into something else, I think that's perfectly fine, right? That's perfectly fine. But I think that would be good to place, a sell order near the resistance around the $1.70, which where we saw selling pressure came back previously, one time, two times, right over here, right? And if you are thinking about, I don't know what's your stop loss plan as well, right? Because if you bought at 1.95, where would your stop loss plan be, and what's your position sizing, right? But I think in terms of the immediate support, as we have mentioned right over here near the $1.50, right? If prices were to really come back down, retrace, and then your moving averages starts to head sideways, right? That is where you got to be very crucial and monitor this $1.50 support, because that is a sign, right? If your 150 support were to be broken, right, then definitely we may see more weakness returning back towards the next valid support, like I've mentioned, around the $1.30, right? So that's why 150 would be the immediate support that we want to monitor and watch for first, right? If prices were to come back here, rebound back up, okay lah, right? And you also got to watch for the moving average, right? That is where the moving average will be very crucial, because if prices will come back down to the 150, right, and it goes like that, and your moving averages all starts to point sideways, especially your short-term moving average also maybe starts to move in this manner, go sideways, right? But once you see signs of it pointing down, that is where perhaps should your downside risk management plan come into play already, because by right you should already have a downside risk management plan, right? Where's your stop loss level, right? So that could be something that you could be thinking about as well, maybe having a stop loss slightly below the $1.50. That would depend on your position sizing lah, okay? Because not too sure what's your position sizing, right? But I think for now, nothing too worrying about for Pan United, especially we have a bullish signal, short-term, long-term moving averages are heading up, and prices it hasn't broken like this immediate support level yet, right? And it seems that over the past 2 weeks, prices have been heading up and heading to test this 170. So again, like what I've mentioned, if it heads up to the 170 and you do decide to actually take some profit, rotate the funds out to some other stock, I think that's perfectly fine, right? So those are the two levels, right, that I would definitely want to watch for lah, especially if I were in your situation and holding on to Pan United at 1.59. Okay, so I hope that helps to give you something to think about, a very quick one. But in terms of the earnings, right, actually when I click here, I'm not too sure. I haven't really looked at when is the earnings date for this Pan United. I'm not too sure if it's released yet or not, because sometimes, just to share, right, for Singapore market, Singapore stocks, right, for trading view, sometimes the earnings dates that are here might not exactly be accurate. Like the most accurate one would be to actually go to the SGX website and to check under the company's announcement. Okay, so that would be for Pan United. Just to highlight for this. Okay, so Pinky the Miffy, I hope that gives you something to think about. And then I think now I'll pass my time back over to Bervin to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so here we go. Ian. Hi, Ian. Welcome back. Any thoughts on Wilmar Food Empire on resistance and support line per 1 GT? Accumulate for more dividends or take profits, average cost at 3.79 and 242 respectively. All right, thanks for the context. Really appreciate it. Okay, let me just throw it up. Maybe I'll cover Food Empire for you. All right, so I think right now, definitely if we look at Food Empire, just drawing two lines right there. Two lines right here. Let me just change this to green color. Okay, just drawing two lines right there. You can see that since close to the start of this year, all the way till now, right? Food Empire have just been moving sideways. If I compress the chart, I will look a little bit even more boring for some people, where it's just moving sideways. You have bought at the start of the year, holding up to today, probably only make a little bit, never make too much. But otherwise, I would say Food Empire have just been pretty much in a range, right? Prices for yourself, you bought at 242, that's your average cost price. So probably bought a few times, right? Probably you bought a few times along the way, you bought a few times, so that's why your average is 242. I would say it's right at your break-even price now. 243 was the price before the market closed for lunch. We have a buy zone very clearly right here from the beginning of the year. I can even just extend it out like that. From that $2.30 level all the way to maybe about 235, 240. That's when you see buyers coming in each time we arrive at this level. All right, each time we arrive at this level, you start to see buyers coming in, right, pushing prices back up. And each time we arrive very close to that 270 level, we start to see selling start to pick up once again. All right, so you are intending to pick up some for dividends, right? I'm expecting that's your plan, right? According to your message. Accumulate more for dividends. If you would like to accumulate more for dividends, I saw the last dividend amount was about 0.75, 7.5 cents. 7.5 cents, not too bad, right? It's not too bad of a dividend amount, but it's just moving a little bit sideways. So you want it to behave like a REIT, it is behaving like a REIT. So it's not too bad. You want to accumulate more for longer term, collect dividends over a longer prolonged period for it to play out. I think if you're able to get in some, I don't know how big is your position now, some close to that $2.30 level, as long as we are able to hold above that $2.30 level, I think that is fine. But what are the some things that you actually want to take note of? Right, we got that 20 days moving average already starting to trade below that 100 days moving average already. Just let me get rid of the drawings first. Right here 270 and then back to 230 right there. We already start to see that 20 days moving average right there, right? Already below that 100 days moving average, and that 100 days moving average starting to move a little bit more sideways. So you can expect prolonged sideways movement, prolonged range trading between that $2.30 level upwards to 270 first. And if we do a little bit of a projection upwards, you can see that the upside could be towards that $3.10 if 270 gives way. But as of right now, there are no signs of that happening. So if you're okay with the dividend yield and you expect that dividend yield will continue or even increase over the next few years, if you're talking about dividends, I think it is okay to accumulate some at $2.30. But however, you want to pay close attention. You don't want to just take dividends, then don't care about the share price, right? You cannot be using your dividends to offset any capital losses there. It doesn't make sense. You want more of a win-win situation, right? So as long as the $2.30 level continues to hold, that's fine. But if it is broken, I would say the next downside could be towards that $1.90 level. So 40 cents range up, 40 cents range down as well. And this was where prices was at in December as well. Okay, so I think for Food Empire, I think you should continue to expect more of a sideways move. You shouldn't expect much big moves, I would say. But we have earnings coming up. All right, I have earnings coming up based on trading view. So maybe that's something to take note as well. You may start to see prices gap up, or maybe gap down. Hopefully not gap down. Gap up a little bit, maybe test at $2.07 level. Then you want to take some money off the table, right? Because your cost price is about $2.40. You want to take some money off the table, reduce a little bit of that position first, and then try to reposition back at $2.30. I think that is fine as well. All right, so you enjoy the profits and you enjoy the dividends at the same time. All right, Ian, hopefully that makes sense for you for your plan for Food Empire. Otherwise, I'd say nothing much going on, still looking not too bad. Okay, so passing the time back to Z to cover the next stock. Z?
All right, thanks, Bobby. Okay, so maybe let me just do a very quick recap first, what we have been covered, right? Because I think today the pace between us is a bit fast, right? So we try to cover as much as possible, but let me just do a quick recap, just in case some of you guys are thinking about the stock that we have already covered. But not to worry, after this live show, right, you can watch the replay on YouTube. Okay, so Joey was here at the start. For those of you who have joined us late, he actually covered and dived right into the markets first, right? S&P 500 followed by the STI, and the very first three stocks was actually covered by Joey, right? And the first one was First Resources, Siong, and then DBS, right? Then Joey had to leave, and that is where Bervin covered the very first stock, which is City Development, right? City Development, and then I covered HongKong Land, followed by SE Global, and then PCT Partners, IX BioPharma, Hoppa Corporation, AEM, Penn United, and Bervin just covered Food Empire, right? So that would be the 12th stock for today, and the next stock that I'll be covering will be the 13th stock. All right, so let me just share my screen over here, and the stock that I'll be covering will be by Ray, right? And that would be UMS. Okay, let me just write it down. UMS. Okay, so that would be by Ray, right? Ray, I hope you're still here. You mentioned that you bought UMS at 1.58, right? 1.58, okay, went up to $3.15. Yep, and the last few weeks declined to $2.30 to $2.40, which is where we are at now. Any potential to move up to 3 in the mid-term. Okay, so let's take a look at UMS together, right? So 1.58, not too sure if you have taken profits already along the way, take some partial profits, right? Lock in the money first, put it in your pocket first, right? Not too sure if you've done that, right? But if you're still holding on to it now, I think you are definitely still sitting in profits lah, because 1.58, right? Now it's about $2.40. Right. So for UMS, right, I've already turned on the 1GT indicator, right? And you guys can also see for yourself, right, that there is not one but two 1GT bearish signals. So for those of you who are maybe scrolling here, not too sure what this is about, or wondering about like, hey, how do you even get these signals, right? Actually, Joey have this indicator, right? I mean the light version. We are using the 1 Good Trend Pro version. There's a light version whereby you are able to test drive it free for 14 days, and you are also able to put this indicator on your trading view to see whether there is a bullish or bearish signal, right? Okay, so I think the link is actually in the chat, right? I think you can test drive it for free for 14 days and to see whether does it help you with, you know, having a quick opinion in terms of helping you with your trading plan, all right? But of course, that being said, the 1GT indicator, the signals that we are seeing is just part of a checklist that we are using, right? So if you want to know more about the checklist as well, yeah, feel free to attend the upcoming webinar. I think that is next Tuesday by Joey, and that is where he will dive into the framework that he has, you know, what are we looking out for, you know, the signals, how does it come about, so to have a deeper understanding of how do you actually use the indicator as well, all right? So oh sorry, I digress. So let me just dive right back into UMS. Okay, so for UMS, like I mentioned, there is two 1GT bearish signal that is playing out, right? So when we see a bearish signal, right, like what I said earlier, it doesn't mean that the stock will actually crash, right? It just means that there is more selling pressure, profit taking happening, returning back to this particular stock, right? And when you see multiple ones, that is where you got to be a little bit more cautious, like especially so when you're holding on to a position, right? Because when you see multiple ones, consecutive ones, that is where it means that the selling pressure is much stronger than just seeing one bearish signal, right? So this is what we are seeing now. And if we look at the price action, we look at the candlestick, let me just zoom in a little bit, right? We can also start to see that, you know, it has broken below this level, right? This support level, as you can see, I've drawn about $2.40, right? It was a support level from when May all the way to about July, right? 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, about 3 months. It was holding above this 240 as a support level. Then it broken down. right? There's the tech sell-off, it broken down, and now prices seems to retest this level. Like over the past 3 days, lah. I mean, on the 5th of August, it went up. It was holding above this 240, and then just yesterday, right? It was testing this 240. Today, I think still testing lah. Now it's right at the 240 lah, right? So do I have a confirmation whether can it hold above this 240? I don't know, but I would say that this 240 will be the very crucial level that we want to watch for to see over the next 1 week, 2 weeks. Can price indeed firmly hold back above this 240 or not? Or will it come back below and then, stay below this 240? So this 240, I think, would be one that you want to watch for, right? Especially for rate, right? Because you're asking whether is there potential to move up to 3 in the midterm. If price is not able to actually recapture the 240 as a firm support, then it's very hard lah. I mean, the probability of it going back up to the $3, I would say definitely it is lower than if prices is able to, hold firmly above this 240 mark, right? So that's why 240 would be the key level that right now you want to watch for first, right? Whether can it be a resistance, will it be a resistance, will it be a support? I don't know, right? I don't know. That is where we're going to watch the price play out over the next 1 to 2 weeks, right? But I do know that definitely there is short-term weakness returning based on the 2-1 GD bearish signal and also the moving average as well, right? Because you can see that the 20 days moving average, right? Is it pointing up or pointing down now? Definitely is pointing down. Let me zoom in so that everybody can see. Can see that this green line here, right, is definitely pointing down. I mean, long term, yes, long term is great, right? Red and the blue line is still pointing up, but we do see short term weakness definitely returning as well based on the trend, right? Based on the moving average coupled with this 1 GT bearish signal. So for rate, right, like I've mentioned, I don't know whether you actually take some profits when it is near the $3 psychological resistance right over here. I'm not too sure if you have taken some profits, right? But you have taken some profits, great, right? But if you have not, and prices continue to head lower, right? I think that is where you may want to think about, being a little bit more cautious with your position, especially if price unable to hold above the 240 and head back down. You see that this level right over here, right? I think this $2.10, right? This is where buyers actually came in back in the end of July to start of August, right? This is where buyers actually came in to support the prices. So this $2.10 would be the crucial support level to see whether if buyers can once again come back. If it doesn't and it breaks lower, right, very, very likely we may see another 1 GD bearish signal. So that would mean that there is 3 consecutive 1 GD bearish signal. And by then, do you think that the 20 days moving average will point up? Very unlikely. It will probably continue point down. And this 100 days moving average, right, it may start to flatten out even more, right? So I would say that right now, in terms of UMS, right, $2.10, I think that's the support level that you want to watch out for, set some price alert, as well as to see whether this 240 can price actually recapture this 240, turning it to become a firm new higher support. If yes, then potentially we might see prices heading back up towards the $3 psychological resistance. But I would say maybe around around this $2.80 to $3.80, right? I think that would be what we call a resistance zone. Not exactly at $3, but perhaps near around 280, 290, perhaps. I would not be surprised if selling pressure starts to return as well as what we have seen back in June. Okay, so that is for UMS, right? In terms of whether can it actually go back up to the $3, when will it go back up to the $3? Is it short term, long term? That one we cannot tell, right? We cannot tell. But what we can know and we can watch out for would be signs, right? And also whether can resistance turn to become a new higher support level. Okay, so that would be for UMS. I hope that gives you something to think about and some levels to watch for, right? Especially if you are in the green, make sure to actually take active steps to protect your profits as well, especially when we are seeing some weakness returning to the stock. Okay, so back over to you, Berwin, to cover the next Singapore stock.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so next stock here. Okay, here we go. Hi, CS. Sets went to high at 4.96. Yeah, but that was yesterday. Close weaker yesterday. Yes, also right. Today slightly in the red. What is the next support? You bought it at $4.20. All right. So on the screen right now we have sets. Indeed, yesterday we have came close to test that $5 level yesterday. You're right, right? So I'm not too sure whether you took some profits yesterday or you have intention to take some profits if it's close to $5. right? But you have bought it at $4.20 right there. All right, so you are sitting on some profits from here, 420 all the way up to today's price, about 15% profits, right? Good profits, in fact, right? But the thing to point out here for sets is one thing I would like to just point out is it had been sitting under that $4 resistance since 2 years ago, for the entire period of 2 years. It wasn't more than that even, in fact. 2 years, it wasn't able to break above that $4 level. It came close, tested it twice over the period of 2 years. Finally, we managed to see it wake up its idea a bit, push past that $4 level in June, very quickly took off, consolidated for a little bit, and right now we are at a higher consolidation range between that 480 to that $5 level. All right, so you bought it above that 420. Okay, you bought it at 420, and right now we are sitting above that $4.80 level. Right, the immediate support, I would say, right around that 460 level. Right, $4.60 level. That was where previously was somewhat of a resistance. Tested it a little bit, broke above, consolidated very close to this level for a couple of days already. So as long as we are able to very clearly hold above that 460 level, I think you are still in a very, very good position. You're sitting on some profits. All right, we are a little bit of a no man's land at $4.80, right smack in the center of 460 and $5. So not too sure on what to do. Right, so at least to answer your question directly, your next support is at $4.60. So but what do you do with the information? So if prices were to fall below that $4.60 level, you may want to reduce some of the exposure, lock up those profits. All right, lock up some of those profits that you're already sitting on. You would still be getting out with profit, nothing wrong with that. But the last thing you want to do is to have prices fall back all the way down to your $4.20 level. And that's the last thing you want to do. You have been probably holding it for the last 2 months. Let's not let it go to waste, right? And the next thing is, if we were to head back close to that $5 level, maybe 490 upwards of 490 towards $5. If you would like to take some profits, the keyword is some, not all your profits. I would think it's nothing wrong to do so as well, as we could be entering a consolidation pattern for a little bit. Right? We don't expect prices to go higher and higher and higher week over week over week, right? And nobody can tell you whether it's going to be indeed breaking that $5, heading up towards 550, 540. Nobody can tell you that information as well. Nobody has that information as well, at least at this point of time, right, until it indeed happens. But looking at the trend wise, looking on the information on the chart, 460, as long as it holds, is good. We have that 20 days moving average still pointing up and still continuously sloping up. 100 days, 200 days moving average needs to play a little bit of catch up to that 20 days moving average, but we expect it to continue to head higher as long as that consolidation pattern continues to hold, right? So you want to set up some alerts, right? You want to set up some alerts above that $5 level. Very quickly, just right click, add alert, change it to maybe 505, 5.05, press enter. So when prices indeed break above that $5 level, you will be alerted towards that. And then you start to shift your stop limit orders upwards. Maybe it could be under that 460 level right now, but maybe when it's above $5, you can start to shift it maybe under that $5 level, locking up even more profits, right? Locking up even more profits then, right? If we were to take reference to that trailing support, you can see that trailing support is a little bit far away, still giving that room to breathe for sets, right? It's at the $4.43 level as of today. Right, so if we were to potentially head back to that trailing support level, and you have gotten out some already, you've taken some profit already, you would like to reaccumulate. This is another level to actually take note of, right? Accumulating very, very close to above that trailing support level could be a good play as well. Right, but nonetheless, we always just have to remember one very, very simple thing. We are not sure on what to do. Always protect your downside first, then we let the upside just take care of itself. as long as it continues to look good, we don't make any rash decisions to accumulate on the way down, especially that's the last thing you want to do. But if it continues to head higher, you can even accumulate when prices are higher. All right, so if you are thinking of accumulating close to that support, 460 support, potentially that's maybe why you're asking that question. Now you know the answer. So you could also set up some alerts close to that $4.60 level. And if you receive the alert, come in, look at the chart. If you see not much weakness, we still see the longer term trend good, the shorter term trend still pretty much intact. I think you could even position yourself to increase exposure for sets. Okay, so I think that is a very, very quick one for sets. I just saw this as well. Ian is saying his average cost price for Food Empire is $1.78. And then in that case, sorry, 503. I keep okay, there we go. Food Empire. Very quickly coming back to it. $1.78. All right, so you're sitting on very, very good profits. So maybe just a slight shift in your plan right now. If we are trading below that $2.30, $2.40 level, potentially, Ian, maybe you want to consider lock up some of those profits. But otherwise, if the longer term consolidation continues, yeah, same thing. I think you can continue to hold, continue to enjoy your dividends as long as you don't see that trend weakening any further for Food Empire. All right, so that is for Food Empire and also for sets. I'll pass the time now to Z to maybe cover one more stock. Z, how many stock are we doing?
Okay, I think maybe we can cover one more stock because we got 3 bonus stock, right? Including Joey one to actually talk about, right?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe I'll just cover the last one, and that would be the 15 stocks, right, requested by you guys. Then we can move on to our bonus section, which includes Joey stock. Okay, so let me just change my screen here, and the stock that I'll be covering will be none other than Kunaf one, right, which is Sembcorp Industry for the last one, right? Kunaf, you mentioned that you bought Sembcorp at $6 and you're thinking now hold or to add more, right? Okay, so let's see. We still have about 200 of you guys with us here. Maybe you guys can help me and also help Kunaf out, right? In terms of the trend, what do you guys think about the trend for Sembcorp Industry? Up, down, sideways? You like, you don't like? Let me know, right? Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of Sembcorp Industry in terms of the trend? Like maybe you guys, if you guys a bit more advanced, then let me know like short term down, short term up, long term break it down for me as well, right? So that we all can learn together. All right. So what do you guys think about the trend for Sembcorp Industry? I don't know. Do you guys like this stock? Do you guys like the trend? What do you guys think? Victor thinks that the trend is sideways. Okay. Brandon says all down. So I think Brandon don't really like this stock, all down. Okay, Victor thinks it's sideways. Okay. What about the rest? What do you guys think of Sembcorp Industry? Colin down. Colin also agrees with Brandon that it's down. ABC down, short term down, long term side. Doraemon can enter now. Lina, weak monitor first. Ray down. Tiam Guan down. Pinky down. Okay. So I would say basically a lot of you say a bit weak lah, down lah, right? Which I also agree, right? Right? In terms of the trend, based on what we are seeing for Sembcorp Industry now, it's a bit weak lah. Why? Number one is because typically when we think about the strong uptrend, what is the moving average that we want to see? You want to see something like that, right? Green up, red up, blue up, everything the direction must be aligning and heading up, right? But now, based on what we are seeing over here, maybe let me just box up like that, right? The moving average, it's not exactly like that lah. It's different, right? This is what we want to see in terms of ideal uptrend. This is what we see now, right? So in terms of the trend wise, I would say not that ideal lah when we are thinking about buying, right? Because Kunaf, your question is hold now, continue to hold, or add more, which means you are thinking about buying, right? So at this point in time, I would say not yet, right? Because number one, the trend is already not aligned, right? The trend is not aligned. Short term wise, I mean, we do see at least short term, right? I mean, it was pointing down, but now it is heading sideways lah. At least the short term weakness paused for a bit. But longer term wise, overall big picture, not that ideal, right? Plus, what else do we see? we see that there is a 1 GT bearish signal, right? So just now, like what I mentioned, right, 1 GT bearish signal, when we see it, doesn't mean that the stock will crash, but it just tells us that, hey, there is more selling pressure returning to this stock, right? And on top of that, after you know that, you see that already, and you see the support and the resistance over the past months, prices, has it break resistance turning into new higher support, or the other way around, has it break support turning into new resistance, right? Because if the other way around, like what we are seeing here, then also telling us not that great, right? Because it means that the bears are actually in control, they are keep selling, and the support keep getting broken. And if your chart, a lot of it, you see a lot of red color one, it means that support has turned to become a resistance, right? And that would mean that the bears are likely more to be in control, right? So as you can see here, $6 previously, $6 here, right? I've drawn it as a support level, right? Because prices was testing this level. Buyers came in at least not one time, but 2 times, attempting to push the price up, right? Rebounded from this $6. But unfortunately, right here, it actually broke down, right? 1 GD bearish signal came out. And then the next support level, as you can see, maybe some would draw it around this 550, 560. This, I would say that this support here, right, has also then been broken, right? Right over here, it has been broken, right? This was where buyers actually came in somewhere in the early of March, right? Prices rebounded very quickly, right? We got bullish signal coming out, prices rebounded very quickly. But I mean, unfortunately, it didn't sustain the longer term moving average, and the overall uptrend didn't sustain, right? And this is where we are at, right? So you can see that $6 was previously a support, turned to become a resistance, and right over here as well, I would say that around this $5.60 also was previously a support, turned to become what we call a resistance, right? But right now, over the past couple of days, right, we do see that prices indeed is testing this $6. Can it not $6, sorry, $5.60, 560, not $6, $5.60, right? So can it actually break and hold above this 560? I don't know, right? But I know that it is definitely testing it. You can see over the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of candlestick, right? Definitely testing this, right? But is it firm for me to say that this 560 has turned to become a support? Not exactly, right? It is not firm yet. I would want to see like prices really holding above this for at least 1 week, 2 weeks, and we see candlesticks with confirmation such as long lower shadows telling us that buyers actually returned. But now, not yet, right? Not yet. And I think in terms of Kuna situation, you mentioned that you bought at about $6, right? You bought at $6, right? I don't know, was it somewhere here, or maybe last time when you bought here $6, great, but went up, never take profits, right? Not too sure where you actually bought it at, right? But the thing is that now definitely sitting on some losses, right? And if the only reason that you are thinking of buying is because you are thinking about averaging down, right? Because it is cheaper, then usually we refrain from doing that, right? Because the confirmations, the confluence of factors, do we have them? Not exactly, right? The trend, moving averages, we don't really think that because it is not ideal, right? We don't think about buying on weakness, but rather think about buying on strength. Do we have a bullish signal? No, also, right? There is also a bearish signal, and multiple times prices have been breaking support levels as well, right? So in terms of adding, usually we don't really advise to add, especially in such a situation like that, right? And just because you're thinking about averaging down to dollar cost average to buy more, when it becomes lower, buy more, become lower, and at what point, like, do we stop buying, right? Because if it goes lower, do you buy more? If it goes lower, do you buy more, right? So we don't want to have that mentality, we don't have to have that mindset, right? So actually, what would be even better is that when you actually enter at $6, right, what would then be a stop loss plan? Because that is where, if you have a stop loss plan in place, and if prices were to break below that $6, and if the stop loss was maybe, I don't know, somewhere around the 595, 594, have a stop loss plan in place, right? Perhaps you have already gotten out, and you wouldn't have to be thinking about this situation, right? Because then you will not be thinking about, or even looking at this stock thinking about buying, because why? The trend is not up, right? The trend is not up. So never mind. I mean, now this is where we are at, right? So at least I hope that I help you to answer some of your question, right? Whereby now hold or add more, right? So the add more part, like what I mentioned, because it is not ideal, we don't think about adding at this point in time, right? Then comes to the point whereby should you then continue to actually hold on to this stock, right? I think that is where you got to also monitor and look at the support level as well, because now we know that this support level, $5.20, right? This is where buyers actually return. If prices cannot hold above this 560, test, come back down, break this support level, would you want to continue actually holding on to this? And then if it goes lower, are you thinking about buying more? We don't want that, right? We don't want that. So that is where 520, I think, if it cannot hold above this 520, I think that's where you might really want to think about what is your downside risk management plan, right? Because we don't want to be holding on to a stock that essentially might become lower and lower and lower, and then you are holding on to unrealized losses that gets bigger and bigger lah. Okay, so 520, I think that would be a very crucial level, Kuna, for you to actually watch for, right? To actually watch for, and if it doesn't hold, I think do have a risk management plan in place lah. Especially if we get another 1GD bearish signal coming out, and also you start to see that the 20 days moving average starts to continue to head down, point downwards, then you know that short-term weakness have indeed returned lah. Okay, and I think this one next week, right, we also do have earnings, right, for Sembcorp Industries as well, so that's something to take note of on Thursday. Yeah, so can see lah next week whether will price firmly be able to hold above this $5.60, turning it to become a new support. Okay, so that would be for Kunaf, right? Sembcorp Industry, and I think we have come to the end of the requested stock by you guys, right? That's the 15th stock, right? So now we will be going to the bonus stock section, Bobby.
All right. So that's all the requested stock, unfortunately, that we can cover today only. I mean, there are so many requests for so many different stocks that you guys have that we still haven't managed to answer them. But one of your requests could be actually our bonus stock for today. I mean, so Joey have actually, let me just see. Joey have actually just messaged us his bonus stock. Okay, his bonus stock for today. All right, so I will go through Joey's bonus stock first, and then after that I'll pass it back to Z to cover her bonus stock, and then she will throw it back to me. All right, so I'm just finished drawing the levels that Joey have for his bonus stock right here, which is Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. So okay, Joey isn't here to cover this, but I think he's still thinking of you guys lah. He's still thinking of you guys, and he wants to let you guys know that this is his bonus stock. All right, so his bonus stock is Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. I think there was a pretty good move. All right, so you guys are hearing it first. Maybe later on in the day you will see it in one of the WhatsApp messages that he's sending out to his clients as well. All right, so but right now, okay, let's take a look at Yangzijiang Shipbuilding. All right, we are very clearly testing that $4.20, 4.20 resistance. It's currently being tested this morning. The last time, or the first time we actually tested this was in March. The second time we tested this was in May. And right now, after about 4 months later, we are finally back to this level at $4.20. That 20 days moving average is woken up its idea a little bit, crossing above that 100 days moving average. We have a new 1GT bullish signal that have shown up as prices managed to break above that $3.80 resistance at a point of time, and now right now it has turned into what we call a buy zone, or what we call a new higher support level, at least in the nearer term. That $3.40 key level still holds as of now, as prices have rebounded quite a few times from there as well. So where could Yangzijiang potentially be heading next? Why is it the bonus stock for Joey? I think very clearly we do a little bit of a projection right here from 380 upwards. If we manage to indeed hold above that $4.20 level, the next upside could be towards that $4.60 level. All right, so that, but just bear in mind, I think the movement up today could be due to their earnings, a good earnings result. I haven't looked into it just yet, so the momentum could continue into the next week, all right, or next couple of days at least, as market is digesting that earnings. Right, so I think very clearly we want to see next week or maybe even today we are able to very firmly close above that 420 level. Right, unlike previously, we have actually previously broken above that 420 level, but subsequently next couple of days it came back down. So we want to see a different story play out this time, for sure. Where very similarly, what had happened in July happened. Imagine copy, you paste that up. Same, that will be a good sign that we have very clearly found a new support level above that $4.20 level, opening that upside upwards to $4.60. That's about a 10% upside. Right, so if you do not have Yang Zhejiang shipbuilding in your watch list just yet, may want to finally add it back into your watch list. I know we have covered this previously quite a while back as well, but it has came back into Joey's radar already because of that bullish up move. Right, we may start to see that 100 days, 200 days moving average start to point up and move upwards or slope upwards a little bit more aggressively if that momentum can continue for Yang Zhejiang shipbuilding. All right, so that is Joey's bonus stock, Yang Zhejiang shipbuilding. I know some of you guys have requested that stock as well, so that's why we did not cover the stock just now when it was requested, I guess. So, but now I'll pass the time to Z to cover her bonus stock for today. Z?
Okay, all right. Let me just change my screen right over here. Okay, I hope you guys can. Okay, I hope you guys can see my screen. Okay, so my bonus stock, right, for today that I would like to share with you guys would be this stock called Centurion, right? So I think Joey's bonus stock is Yang Zhejiang lah. So my bonus stock today would be Centurion, right? So I mean, for this stock, you can see that overall it has a pretty good run lah, right? I mean, since the start of 2026 to where we are at now, and the bullish trend, right, is actually still pretty much intact, right? And we don't see just one but two 1GT bullish signal, right? So let's take a look deeper, right, and dive right in to see where are some of the levels, right, that perhaps some of you guys may want to consider to take note, set some price alerts as well, if you guys are keen. All right, so for Centurion, first thing first, I mean, uptrend, when we look at the basics, right, moving averages, all three are actually heading up, right? We have two 1GT bullish signal that is actually still playing out. Prices was actually consolidating sideways, right, from, I would say, April to July, right over here, right, like this period, right, it was actually kind of like moving sideways for a while, right, from these $1.40 to about $1.50, 55 cents range, right, and then now it has broken higher, right? It has broken above this 155. Last time was a resistance, now become what we call a support, right? And over the past couple of weeks, we do see that when selling pressure came in, push price back down, you do see that buyers actually came back in around this 155, prices rebounded, right? And this is where we are at now, right? So overall, in terms of the uptrend structure, it still looks pretty good, right? And in terms of the resistance, it's quite clear that the resistance is somewhere around this $1.70, right? Because this was where back in July 2025, right over here, right? You can see that there are candlesticks with multiple candlesticks, not just one, but multiple candlesticks with long upper shadow. And that just tells us that, hey, the selling pressure there is very strong. People are queuing there to actually sell. That is why during the trading session, right, prices went up all the way to the high of that level, but selling pressure came in, pushed prices back down. That is what formed that long upper shadow, right? So I would say that 170, this level, I mean, definitely resistance based on what we see previously. There could be resistance coming back at the 170. But based on what we have been seeing, right, we can see that over the past 1 month, right, from July to now, right, about 1 month, actually selling pressure started to come back even slightly earlier already. It's no longer around the 170. I would say around this 165, 167, right here, right, selling pressure has already started to come back, right? Can you see selling pressure has started to come back? It's no longer near that $1.70. So in terms of, if let's say, in terms of setting a target or a resistance, right? If you are thinking about 170, I think there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong. But to be a bit more conservative, right, in terms of having a trading plans for the target price, right, around the 167, 168, this level, right, I think right over here, it is okay to have it as like a target price as well, because that is where selling pressure actually came back over the past month when we have seen right here, right? But then in terms of support level, right, like I've mentioned earlier on, around 155, that is where the support level is at, right? And that is where potentially we could be setting price alert to formulate the plan for a potential zone of entry, right? Right now, price is about 1.63 lah, right? It's heading back up to retest this resistance, right? If it retest this resistance, could it return, could it retrace and head back towards the support level? I'm not sure, right? But this is where definitely you could be setting some price alert to accumulate on the dips, right? And that could be the range that we are working with, or it could be a potential trading plan in place from about 155, this support zone, to about the 165, 167 up. That could be one of the trading plan in place, right? And if I were to just do a very quick simulation like this, right? So assuming that if let's say your entry price is here, of course, not forgetting the stop loss, right? Because like what we always mention, trading plan important. Stop loss is also very important because that is where it helps you to manage your downside risk. And in terms of stop loss, where potentially could that be? It could be placed slightly below the support zone, right? The support, which is the 155, right? Because if prices were to break the support, it becomes a resistance again, right? So if we are placing a stop loss slightly below the 155, maybe let's say about 153, 152, and your target, like I mentioned, right, maybe not at 170 anymore, because sellers are willing to sell lower now, right? Around the 165, 166, right? If you have to place it somewhere like that, right, and the trading plan, it is still a pretty healthy risk to reward ratio at about 1.8. So that is something that you could consider for as well in terms of Centurion. I mean, if you guys like the stock and you guys think that, you know, the uptrend is pretty still intact and you guys like this, right, then this is something that you could watch out for, like some of the levels, right? But just to note, right, I think this is also something that I definitely need to highlight a lot, which is their earnings, because their earnings, as you can see, next Wednesday, they are also releasing their earnings. So potentially, there could be volatility coming back in as well, because as you can see right over here, previous earnings as well, prices does move quite a bit, right? Based on the past earnings, but it doesn't mean that past earning it moves in this manner, future earnings will also move in the same manner, right? So that's just something to take note, that potentially next week we could be seeing more volatility returning to this counter. So if you do have a trading plan in place, you can also, you know, watch for after the earnings, right, to when prices actually stabilize, does the level actually still make sense? Does the trading plan still make sense? And also, is the risk to reward meaningful for you? Okay, so that would be for Centurion, and that is my bonus stock that I'd like to share with you guys. So yeah, I mean, passing the time back over to Bervin, right, so that he can share his bonus stock with you guys as well.
All right, thanks Z. Okay, so last bonus stock for today, all right, will be Singapore Exchange. All right, Singapore Exchange will be my bonus stock for today. All right, so Joey's bonus stock was Yang Zijiang Shipbuilding. Z just covered Centurion, and last but not least, we have Singapore Exchange. I think you know that Singapore Exchange has been one of the stocks that we have been consistently monitoring. We have been constantly covering, especially during this AMAS session, as our bonus stock, because it continues to look good. It continues to perform well, right? It continues to show signs of bullishness, right? So I think even Ian was asking this, right? Thoughts on SGX as per the 1GT reached an all-time high today of $25.11, and an uptrend momentum looks intact. Is it time to accumulate even more, or is it time to actually take profits? Right? I saw some of you guys were also asking about SGX, but I'm not able to find those comments already. It's flooded here, but no worries. Let's just take a look at why SGX continues to be on our watch list. All right, so definitely, Ian, you're right. Today, we actually see that SGX have started to push higher. I mean, among the backs of yesterday's earnings, right? Yesterday's earnings showed quite good numbers, increase in revenue. I mean, the EDP continues to play out, continuous increase in clearing of derivatives as well, continues to show strength for Singapore Exchange as their primary business, right? But this morning there was some signs of indecisiveness as we approach that $25 level, the $25 resistance level. Sellers have started to take control, started to push prices down as well, and we started to see buyers come back in to push prices back up. So there's a little bit of a battle between the buyers and the sellers at this point. All right, but we are already, I would say, considered to be at an all-time high, right? Comparing the prices right now, $24.68 versus the last high, $26.67. We are already at an all-time high. All right, that 20 days moving average previously sloping down a little bit as we consolidated very close to that buy zone. And right now, I think as of today, it had started to show some signs of pointing back up again. So I don't know, Ian, if you have been alerted or you have set up some alerts above the 25 level, but you should have received some alerts today if you have set up those alerts as well. That $23.50 level continues to be a very, very firm support. Very firm support where buyers are quite keen to get in. So for those of you, I'm not too sure if prices are going to be heading back down to $23.50 for you to accumulate, or even some people are waiting for that $22 level to accumulate. I'm not too sure if it will head back down to that level, but at least what we can do is if indeed we start to see that upward momentum start to take place. So it means we break above that $25 level. The next potential target could be towards that $26.50 level. See, just by doing a simple projection from 23.50 upwards to 25 to 26.50. All right, so that would be the next higher target that definitely looks more in sight at this point of time, with that $25 level finally being tested and briefly broken above. So over the next couple of days, I think definitely worth to continue watching Singapore Exchange if you have, especially if you have some positions from of Singapore Exchange or SGX and you want to take some profits today closer to that $25 level. I think today you may see an opportunity to do so. All right, you may see an opportunity to do so, but leave some exposure to continuously ride the next phase of this uptrend. As we have mentioned many times previously, the historical pattern of SGX will be a continuous consolidation for a little bit, for a period of time, 1 to 2 months, before heading up even higher. And we could be starting to see signs of that next phase in that uptrend potentially happening already. So don't sleep on it. All right, add it into your watch list if you haven't had it added yet. All right, so this is my bonus stock for today, Singapore Exchange. Hopefully the next time when we come back to the AMAS, we start to see more upside for SGX already happened. All right, so that is the 3 bonus stocks covered for today. All right, so Yangzijiang Shipbuilding, followed by Centurion, and then last but not least, Singapore Exchange. So that pretty much, guys, wraps up our Friday weekly AMAS covering the Singapore market today. Very good moves in the Singapore market across the board. The STI is also up today, as mentioned by Joey. Hopefully you guys managed to get some value from today's session. So if you have gotten a little bit of value, especially if we have covered your stocks, or Joey had covered your stocks before leaving for his lunch appointment, you can type a V in the chat so you know that you have actually gained some value from today's live show or today's AMAS show. All right, so let me just acknowledge you guys for staying all the way to the end with us. I mean, I'm so sorry if we are not able to cover all of your stocks or all the stocks. I think it will take a few more hours to actually do that. All right, so Ray, V, great. Catherine, V, good, you found value in it, great. Victor, V, ABC, V, Chan, V, right, great. Thank you so much for you guys support today, and as per always. All right, so just to take note for you guys who haven't attended Joey's free I'd like to reiterate this free 1GT webinar. It's happening next Tuesday to just get your hands wet a little bit, get to know the 1GT framework that myself, Z, and Joey use on a daily basis. Click the link in the chat to find out a little bit more. Sign up for the webinar for yourself. It's all happening online, so you can do it in the comfort of your home. All right, Z, is there anything you want to add?
I think I saw a comment right by someone. I think Brendan is asking about a US stock, but unfortunately, I think today we are focusing on Singapore stocks. But not to worry, Brendan. Next week we'll be covering US stock because we alternate every time between Singapore, US, Singapore, US. So next week, do come back, right? Do come back and join us again for US stocks, and hopefully we will be able to cover some of the US stocks that you requested. All right. So next week, you'll be me, Berlin, and Joey as well. All right. So yeah, I mean, we hope to see all of you guys next week as well. And I just want to say, wishing everybody a happy National Day long weekend,
Yes.
right? Because I think Monday is a public holiday, right? So yeah, I think that's all from me. Bobby, anything else on your end?
All right, so I mean there is nothing else from my end, but if you guys haven't checked out our latest podcast videos, it's also on Joey's YouTube, especially you're scrolling on YouTube, please actually go check out those podcast videos. There's additional value, a little bit more different, right, compared to our weekly AMAS session and Joey's sessions with McQuarrie or SocGen. Those are different. We are trying to provide as much value to you guys, at least for the second half of this year. All right, so if you haven't subscribed yet, also of course, do help us out. Subscribe to Joey's channel as well and give us a like. Really helps us to engage more people, to reach out to more people in the future. All right, so that's all I have for you guys. I'm Bervin. That's Z. We are signing off for today from our weekly AMS session. All right, guys. Bye. Have a good
Bye.
weekend. Enjoy your long weekend. Okay. Bye.